Chapter 161. Xie Junping had said last week that Luonan needed to go through the procedures after entering the society. However, Luonan had slept for an entire day over the weekend. On Sunday he had gone to the sanatorium to accompany his grandfather. On Monday he had been directly admitted to the hospital. He had tossed all of these matters aside. It was fortunate that Xie Junping had picked up all of these matters. Luonan was a bit embarrassed. He expressed his thanks and buried his head in a pile of electronic documents. Xie Junping had been explaining the purpose of each document to Luonan in the beginning, but then he saw that Luonan was completely ignoring him. Luonan was wholeheartedly focused on signing, displaying complete trust in Xie Junping. Xie Junping felt comfortable in his heart and simply began to chat. Of course, the topic of conversation was always about gear. "Brother Nan, you just don't like the construction society, right? I don't think you need to worry too much. It looks like the construction society is determined to bring in the Rainbow Fund, but the Mystic Arts Research Society isn't to be trifled with. When those people become willful, they dare to do anything. I've been asking around these past 2 days. They're all clamoring to start a war with the construction society. In comparison, the Rainbow Fund is still a legitimate company. They have to look at investment returns, right? What if the manager goes crazy?" Luonan put down his digital pen for the first time. He raised his head and asked, "Gear. Aside from its location and design, are there any other high-value assets?" "I've never heard of this. Why do you think so?" "Right now, the premium between the two sides is not particularly serious." Luonan didn't speak. He learned something from Crag Burst. After last night's conflict in the dining room, Yin Yongbo really put in a lot of effort when he talked about gear. He treated it as a proper business and even gave the lawyer a deadline. It seemed like someone was forcing him. This was completely different from Luonan's initial conjecture of personal reasons. Also, the Mystic Arts Research Society also had an incredible background. Last Friday night at the Limestone Water Village pub, Luonan discovered during his operation that this society was actually related to the Order of Justice. In the past, Luonan did not have a direct understanding of the strength of a secret order. But this time, the power grasped by Elder Mo Luan of the Tiny Blood Flame Order was an eye-opener for him. From this, it could be inferred that the Order of Justice, whose strength was far above that of the Blood Flame Order, was certainly an incredible colossus. The bidding war between the Mystic Arts Research Society and the Construction Society seemed to have broken away from the competition between school societies and sponsors. It had entered a completely different level. Hopefully he was just thinking too much. Of course Luonan had gear. If this chapter is not finished, please turn the page. Irreplaceable significance. He also believed that his mother's designs had the power to become a classic. But for powers like Quantum Corporation and the Order of Justice, what was the actual value of a wetland building? Luonan hated that he couldn't immediately return to school to see what was going on. At 5 o'clock, the hospital's visiting hours ended. Both Xie Junping and Luo Shuqing were persuaded to leave. On the other hand, Luonan truly began his health pod treatment. There was no dinner, and he had to be stuffed naked into a translucent nutrition pod. The most embarrassing thing was that Mr. Bai had personally come to supervise. Luonan seriously suspected that this overly carefree little old man had come to see him make a fool of himself. "Don't be nervous. Don't you have a filter?" If he could breathe, he would just take it as sleeping in the bathtub. "By the way, since you just woke up, do you want to play some games?" "There's even a game?" Luonan was wearing a breathing apparatus, so he couldn't open his mouth. He could only watch with wide eyes. "Through the Hexier." Mr. White smiled as he switched to the Hexier channel. Ouyang has migrated quite a few games to the Psychic Wave network. They are updated in a timely manner and are very popular. For example, there are games like 10 Days in the Wilderness. Don't you youngsters like to play? Hold on. Don't jump around like this. Mr. Bai tapped his own forehead. "I heard that your application of the Hexier has already reached the computer level?" That's how it is. This is a typical manifestation of an imbalance between body and soul. It seems that you've learned to attach your soul without a teacher. Perhaps the 4th level simulator won't be a problem for you. If you get addicted to playing, your soul strength will increase. Then you'll be in big trouble. Simulator? It's similar to virtual reality. In the Hexier, it goes from basic interactive applications to active collection and operation of energy and information. It breaks away from the limitations of the fleshly body and materializes self-logic on the psychic wave network. Luonan blinked and concluded, "Out-of-body state?" Mr. Bai raised his eyebrows. "That's right. This kid's brain is really fast. This is the out-of-body state. It's also called astral travel. On the psychic wave network, there's the protection of energy. The risk of an out-of-body state can be minimized. You can try it in the future, but you absolutely can't right now. Not only can you not play games, but you can't leave the body. There's also meditation. Alright. You can meditate, right? I can visualize a bit. Isn't that about the same? It's the same. All methods that can increase soul strength can't be used. Here. This chapter isn't finished. Please turn the page. At your level, visualization is no longer a game of pure thought. It is necessary to gather and operate energy and information at all times. This will bring enormous pressure to the fleshly body. You'll truly lose your balance. When the time comes, it'll be a bit easier for you to just die. Mr. Bai's words knocked Luonan back to the cold reality. He could only laugh bitterly for a time. Reality was like this. If he hadn't learned a bit of expediency from Mo Luan, and if he hadn't had the dynamo core to entrust his soul to and dispel the pressure, Luonan would certainly be living a life worse than death. Mr. Bai scared Luonan to let him understand the seriousness of the matter. Then he gave a solution. If you really can't do it, then chat. This old man won't chat with you. You can find someone else. Crag Burst is a chatterbox. That secretary seems to treat you quite well. She's even a beauty. Luonan rolled his eyes while the nutrient fluid hadn't covered his face yet. Alright. I'll go find Ouyang and seal your privileges. Kids are always unreliable. The old mister did what he said. He patted his butt and left. Luonan really admired this old man. But he really did relax quite a bit after being messed around like this. He didn't feel any discomfort even though he was covered in the nutrient fluid. But soon Luonan was faced with a real problem. He really couldn't sleep. There were many things in his mind, but he couldn't find a clue. It was a mess, and his brain was especially excited. It was very tiring. Did he really have to chat? Helpless, Luonan scrolled through his friend list on the Hexier. There were only He Yuan, Crag Burst, Octopus, Zhang Yingying, Mr. Bai, and a few others on the list. Which one should he choose? Someone had already taken the initiative to make a choice for Luonan while he was in a dilemma. The greenish-gray octopus had jumped up and down. Bro Octopus? Bro, have you entered the cabin yet? I'm inside. Luonan had already contacted Octopus before starting the treatment. They discussed the matter of concocting the nutrient fluid. As a professional, Octopus gave Luonan many useful suggestions. He also wanted to help Luonan contact a suitable pharmacist. In the professional field, Octopus's horizons no longer stopped at Xia City. He looked to the entire world. He recommended Luonan an authority in the field of nerve repair, Dr. Clay, who was far away in Los Angeles, America. He even volunteered to make the contact. Right now, there was already a result. Bro, I have the latest news. Chapter 162. Octopus chuckled. Luonan knew that it was almost done. Our luck is pretty good. Dr. Clay is quite interested in your case. He has already decided to take it. I've already paid in advance. Bro Octopus. Hey, you can't let me take advantage of you, right? That nerve drug of yours must be shelved. It targets neurons. Most of them are sympathetic and parasympathetic nerves. If damage has already appeared, it will be hard to predict what will happen if we continue to stimulate them. If we save this expense, wouldn't I be taking your grandfather's molecular formula for free? That's not how it works. That's how it works. Alright, there's a small problem in this matter. Dr. Clay is currently working on a project. He can't get away for a while, so he sent his students over to do the preliminary data collection and testing work. It will be done in about a week. As for Dr. Clay, it will be the end of the month. The end of the month? Luonan was startled. His scalp went numb in the blink of an eye. Didn't this mean that he would have to soak in this large bathtub of the health pod for another month? He hesitated for a moment before finally saying, "Wouldn't this take too long?" Octopus laughed. What's the big deal in a month? It's not even a single course of treatment. You won't have to stay in the hospital forever. I asked Mr. Bai. As long as you can suppress your cough and lethargy, you can leave the hospital at any time. Then you can report to the hospital every other night for specialized treatment. The society will reimburse you. After all, it's a work injury. Luonan knew that Octopus and Mr. Bai had talked. The light blue liquid of the health pod had completely covered Luonan's head by now. Even though he was wearing filters, earplugs, and other protective equipment, the strange, indescribably sticky feeling became more and more distinct. Luonan was not averse to this feeling due to his childhood experiences. He could faintly sense the composition of the nutrient fluid seeping into his body bit by bit with the precision of his senses. It affected the secretion of his body's chemical composition to a certain extent. Luonan could not help but carefully discern the minute changes within due to his years of habit. In the past he could only sense it roughly. Now he was countless times more precise. Correspondingly, the operating efficiency of energy and information had unknowingly increased. Not good. Luonan suddenly came to his senses, and he hastily stopped the thought of clairvoyance. Even so, there were still many parts of his body that were faintly aching. This chapter is not finished. Please continue. The pain made him break out in a cold sweat. Was she trying to cure him or harm him? If he had to experience this for the next month, then Luonan really would have the heart to die. His restlessness delayed him for a while, and he was also distracted. Octopus could only call out again, "Hey brother, what's wrong? Do you feel uncomfortable?" "It's nothing." Luonan couldn't say that he was courting death, but in the end he couldn't help but grumble, "This place feels really vexing." He really suspected that the subtle feeling he had toward the health pod over the years would be completely subverted by the treatment period of a month or even longer. You just need to get used to it. Actually, I don't know how much I envy you. Brother Octopus, really, I'm not lying to you. Octopus couldn't empathize with Luonan at this time. His attention was focused elsewhere. You don't know who the student that Dr. Clay sent over is? By Xianxia. She's the flower of fantasy in the pharmaceutical world. She's absolutely a first-rate beauty. She's not any worse than your secretary. Luonan decided not to say anything. But Octopus was inexplicably excited. TSK. She was really hot back in the day. If it wasn't for Mr. Bai keeping a close eye on her back in Xia City, I would have definitely chased after her. Think about it. You get to spend a month with such a beauty. Yeah, even if you spend 3 weeks with her, it's still a golden opportunity. Luonan was stupefied. Mr. Bai? Yeah. She's Mr. Bai's daughter. She's also a mentally enhanced ability user, but she's even more talented in pharmaceutical studies. She's Dr. Clay's favorite disciple. She even surpasses him in some areas. Alright. You need to remember that Mr. Bai and his daughter don't have a good relationship. Bai Xinyan left for America and hasn't returned for many years. It seems that this is one of the reasons. Don't use your relationship to worm your way into getting close to her. Otherwise, don't blame me for not reminding you if a problem arises. Okay. Luonan was really defeated by Octopus. Then that's it? Alright, the health pod is vexing. Do you want to chat? Tonight is free. Several bouts of cold rain drifted past. The chill gradually grew heavier. The sky of Xia City darkened earlier and earlier. Today was another day with dense clouds and no rain. The cool and refreshing autumn weather had been blown to who knows where. This chapter is not over. Please turn the page. Xia City Airport. Inside the VIP lounge. Yin Yonghua sat quietly on the sofa. His posture was upright and his expression was dull. He looked completely like a successful businessman. His aura was a bit stronger than that of Quantum Corporation's Xia City area CEO, Hu Yuli. However, Hu Yuli didn't mind. He minded his own business, drinking tea and resting. Occasionally, he would cast a glance at the enormous projection area in the lounge. Right now, the projection area was broadcasting a special program produced by the Star Associated Society. The host spoke extremely fast as he asked the expert, "Why did deep blue walkers appear in Xia City?" It seems that the military has never sent this force to any metropolitan area, let alone to fight within. This should be the first time in history. Expert One's expression was wooden as he spoke. There have been. From what I remember, there was one in 90 years, but it wasn't to carry out a military mission. There should be others, but they have always kept a low profile. Most of the time, the public has overlooked them. The host immediately passed this fellow who didn't know how to cooperate. He consulted Expert 2. Most of us have the impression that deep blue walkers always appear in the wilderness or on the sea. They always fight with mutants. This gives us an innate impression that wherever deep blue walkers appear, it is always extremely dangerous. Expert 2's face was filled with a strange smile that said, "I knew you were going to make big news." He spoke rather fluently. Not only do we have to pay attention to the appearance of deep blue walkers, we also have to pay attention to the reaction speed of the government and the military. The number of deep blue walkers is limited. There are currently only 4 divisions in the entire world, and they aren't filled up all year round. Normally they operate in teams. Currently, combining all the information, the number of deep blue walkers that appeared in the early morning hours of the first is already very large. The possibility of a temporary transfer is very small. This means that they have always been in the vicinity. They might even be on standby in Xia City. As for why, we can only see the subsequent developments and the information excavated by all parties. Expert 2 didn't present any actual evidence, but he gave people unlimited room for imagination. Only then was the host satisfied. Now, we will cut to a short video to further understand the deep blue walkers. At this moment, a sweet-sounding bell rang out in the lounge, indicating that the passenger spaceship they were waiting for had already entered the airport. Hu Yuli and the other pickup personnel all stood up. Only Yin Yongbua stared at the projection screen without moving for a long time. Chapter 163. Hu Yuli turned his head to look. Assistant Yin? Yin Yongbua didn't even raise his head as he spoke coldly. Cutting off Quantum Corporation from the program must have cost quite a bit. It's all right. The money was withdrawn from headquarters. They've always had a good relationship with the Star Associated Society. Hu Yuli responded with a smile. He didn't care if this smile was some sort of provocation. Frankly speaking, Hu Yuli really admired Yin Yongbua. Using a weapon on the level of a particle cannon in the vicinity of the residential area of Xia City was far too audacious. If the matter had been resolved satisfactorily, the company and the laboratory might have praised him for being courageous. But now Jack was dead, the test subjects were lost, and 2 deep blue walkers were lost. The entire operation was a complete failure. The so-called courageous had become arrogant. The direct losses caused during the operation could only be counted as a small fraction of all the troubles they faced. The Xia City government and military were already badly battered because of the human-faced arachnid incident. The cannon in the early morning hours of October 1st directly smashed the chaotic situation into a muddy pit. Who knew how many people in the political, military and business circles wanted to fish in troubled waters and reshuffle the cards? 3 days after the incident, videos and photos of the deep blue walkers appearing in Xia City had already broken through Quantum Corporation's blockade and quietly circulated on the internet. After accumulating enough, it exploded with a bang. Although it didn't involve particle cannons or darksider species, the deep blue walkers themselves were already an extremely prominent symbol of danger. In addition, earthquakes had occurred frequently over the past half a month. Both sides were intertwined together. Just a casual association would cause all kinds of strange and wonderful stories to circulate. Even the core insiders would be flabbergasted by some of these stories. These effects continued to ferment over the course of a week. The Star Associated Society, which had always pursued novelty and speed, even produced a special program a week after the incident. It wasn't unprecedented, but it was still very rare. Admittedly, Quantum Corporation's competitors were playing dirty in the dark, but it couldn't be denied that the entire incident was popular in society. At this point, the situation was completely out of control. As the nominally highest decision-making body on Earth, the Planetary Joint Development Organization Program Committee, Star Associated Committee, expressed disappointment with the Xia City government and military's ability to control. Please continue to the next page if this chapter is not finished. They were unable to properly control a war-level weapon like the charged particle cannon. They were unable to monitor a highly destructive team like the Deep Blue Walkers. They were unable to deal with the aftermath. The government and the military of Xia City had been slapped in the face over a dozen times. They flew into a rage out of humiliation. They immediately stopped all cooperation with Quantum Corporation regarding the human-faced arachnid matter. All sorts of investigation teams were sprayed out like water, heading towards every organization of Quantum Corporation. As for reasons such as the Darksider species, they were directly ignored in a situation where Quantum Corporation's headquarters was unable to fully endorse them. Hu Yuli had been managing the Xia City region for nearly a decade, but he had never encountered such a precarious situation. It was as if a team of military police would come in at any time and drag them all to prison. However, the headquarters still maintained an ambiguous attitude. On one hand, he didn't say a word about the suppression of Xia City's government and military. On the other hand, he controlled public opinion from beginning to end. He even controlled the tone of Xia City's government and military. He perfectly avoided the heart of the storm. No matter how one looked at it, they were treated like abandoned pawns. Hu Yuli's mental preparation had been going on for the past 3 days. After repeatedly smashing the jar, he became more and more calm and composed. On the other hand, it was worth exploring what Yin Yongbua was feeling right now. At this time, the sound of footsteps could already be heard from the VIP passageway. Hu Yuli called out once more, "Assistant Yin?" Yin Yongbua finally stood up. He straightened his collar and walked out with large strides. He walked in front out of habit, snatching Hu Yuli's seat of honor. Hu Yuli wasn't the least bit angry. Yin Yongbu's timing was just right. The group had just left when they saw a flight attendant leading a tall woman into the passageway. The woman wore a long, camel-colored windbreaker. She carried a large, dark brown backpack on one shoulder. Her upper body seemed to be casually draped in a white t-shirt with ghost patterns. The image of a ghost face was supported by the curved lines of the shirt. It was extremely bewitching. She wore black trousers and high heels under the hem of her shirt. Her long legs were straight and soul-stirring. Her long, wavy hair, dyed brownish yellow, draped behind her shoulders. She wore a black mask on her face, covering half of her porcelain-like cheeks. But when she saw the stream of people pouring out of the lounge, she smiled. Her slightly wide lips formed an upward curve. Her teeth were white like jade. She was confident and at ease. It made the dignified female flight attendant beside her pale in comparison. This chapter is not over. Please continue to the next page. Yin Yongbu took a deep breath and walked up to her. Supervisor Bai, it must have been hard for you to come all the way here. Hu Yuli followed and expressed his concern. I heard it wasn't a peaceful journey. It was hard to tell where Supervisor Bai was looking after her black mask. However, she responded to Hu Yuli's question. Yes, we were attacked by a three-headed vulture. It was a false alarm. As she spoke, she carried her backpack and continued walking forward. Some of the flight attendants wanted to take the backpack from her, but for some reason they didn't dare to move. Yin Yongbua and Hu Yuli naturally followed by her side and returned to the VIP lounge. After throwing the dark brown backpack on the sofa, Supervisor Bai sat next to it. Her elbow propped up the bulging bulge as she took off her sunglasses. Her wild cheeks that never seemed to be at peace were now completely free from the shackles. In particular, the pair of eyes that were deeply sunken in his eye sockets seemed to flicker with light at any moment. However, upon closer inspection, they were clearly layers upon layers of cold flames. Hu Yuli didn't look directly at such eyes. He picked up his teacup and lowered his head in contemplation. Yin Yongbua, on the other hand, raised his head and faced this new colleague with the calmest and strongest attitude. At least that was what he had to think for now. In the end, it was Hu Yuli who laughed. Supervisor Bai, it must have been hard for you to come all the way here. We have already prepared a place for you to stay. Why don't you take a rest first? That's not necessary. I haven't been back to Xia City for a long time. I have an appointment with a friend. Supervisor Bai glanced at the two people in the room and smiled. Let's get down to business before we settle our personal matters. The task assigned to me by the laboratory is to investigate the relationship between the Deep Blue World Soul Sect and the various secret sects on Earth. So far, the most valuable information came from Assistant Yen. It is said that Jack personally admitted that he knows some of the contacts of the Soul Sect. Seeing that Supervisor Bai had gone straight to the point, Yin Yongbua secretly heaved a sigh of relief. He immediately replied, yes, including a senior member. So, what's the specific situation? Yin Yongbua paused for a moment before saying, Jack is dead. We are pursuing the relevant clues to obtain his relevant information and records. We are currently working on it. Supervisor Bai picked up her sunglasses with one finger and magically made the sunglasses spin on her fingertips. More specific? Chapter 164. Yin Yongbua's gaze shifted from Supervisor Bai's slender fingertips. His expression turned gloomy, but he still remained calm. We believe that Jack was a modified human, at least until the night of September 30th. That way, his way of thinking would not have been able to surpass the template of the brain nucleus and would not have been creative. We have the template settings of his version of the brain nucleus and have used the exhaustive method to list all possible options. We have selected the ones with the highest probability and checked them one by one. Okay, and then? So far, we've searched through Jack's life circle, but we didn't find anything. The Apocalypse Laboratory searched through the cloud space where the data was uploaded, but we didn't find anything either. After various investigations, we can basically confirm that if there are any relevant data records, they must be carried by Jack. Yin Yongbua glanced at Supervisor Bai's face and paused for a moment before continuing. We have searched the battlefield in the early morning of October 1st, but the Ability User Association's search was very thorough and did not leave anything valuable behind. This way, the target is likely to be in their internal bidding for the spoils of war. So far, we have recovered all the bidding goods through the middleman. However, the evaluation of the Deep Sea Type 4 Dynamo Core and the brain nucleus has not been completed and the bidding has not begun. In addition, the C-2834 test subject is still under the control of the Ability User Association. It has been in a coma for the 7th consecutive day, but from the collected information, its vital signs are relatively stable. The lengthy speech could basically be regarded as a work report. Yin Yonghua felt this halfway through his speech. However, the arrow was already on the bow and there was no reason to stop halfway. Supervisor Bai did not respond immediately after the long speech. She seemed to be digesting the information and seemed to be in a daze. Yin Yonghua hated this kind of situation where he had to wait for someone to express their stance, but he still had to wait patiently. At the same time, his heart slowly sank. This was the last thing he wanted to see. Hu Yuli was still drinking his tea, his eyes narrowed. After about half a minute, Supervisor Bai finally said, "After listening to Assistant Yin, I am relieved." Yin Yonghua's eyes lit up and a smile appeared on his face. Supervisor Bai, before returning to Xia City, I actually had a headache. After all, our missions are different. Even if we have a bit of cooperation with Jack and the C-2834 test subject, the following work will inevitably divide Xia City's current strength. Supervisor Bai leaned against her backpack and changed into a more comfortable position. It's all good now. All the measures that Assistant Yin has taken so far are under control. If this chapter is not finished, please turn the page. In this case, I don't need to be polite, I can just use it. Yin Yonghua's expression changed. His current position was the CEO of the Rainbow Fund and the assistant manager of the Sky Blue Security Company. On the surface, the former definitely had more funds and resources than the latter, and that was indeed the case in a normal society. However, the problem was that if Yin Yonghua could only choose between the two positions, he would undoubtedly choose the position of assistant manager. This was because it represented the formidable strength of 4 full squads and nearly 30 deep blue walkers. But now, Supervisor Bai wanted to take everything away with just one sentence? The situation was worse than Yin Yonghua had imagined. Supervisor Bai wasn't just making empty promises. She had the signature of the Quantum Corporation headquarters and the Apocalypse Laboratory. When this electronic document was inserted into Yin Yonghua's work wristband, the authority settings on it came into play. Yin Yonghua's direct leadership of the 4 deep blue walker squads, which was the position of chief captain, was transferred to Supervisor Bai. Currently, Yin Yonghua was only an assistant in name at the Sky Blue Security Company. In reality, there was no longer any meaning. Yin Yonghua's face was ashen as he stared at Supervisor Bai's dazzling face. His aura was already fluctuating faintly and the blood in his chest was about to boil. Supervisor Bai's relaxed posture did not change. She smiled at Yin Yonghua and continued to gather the power in his body. Hu Yuli could not sense the power mode of the burner, but he found that the atmosphere in the room had become extremely dangerous. It was not good for him to sit still, so he put down his cup and smiled to smooth things over. The headquarters and the laboratory must have their reasons for this arrangement. As long as the two of you cooperate sincerely, it doesn't really matter who is in charge of which area. In the end, there is still a difference. Supervisor Bai was surprisingly frank. As for the specific difference, Assistant Yin, no, CEO Yin can slowly experience it. Oh, I haven't congratulated you on your promotion to CEO. See you later. As she spoke, she stood up, picked up her large backpack and prepared to leave. Yin Yonghua stood up abruptly. For a moment he really wanted to pounce on her, but in the end, his feet rooted to the ground. Only a hoarse voice squeezed out of his throat, but even he himself did not know what he said. Supervisor Bai seemed to have heard it clearly. Do you want to know the reason or the result? Why don't I tell you both? Research is not your job, so mistakes can be forgiven. Excavation is a task you cannot afford to make mistakes. However, Xia City's limited power cannot be divided up just for you. At the end of the day you are still. This chapter is not over. Please continue to the next page. Failure is inevitable. As for the reason, it is very simple. You are on the wrong team. She smiled slightly. When she passed by Yin Yonghua, she patted his face lightly, then put on her sunglasses and walked out. Yin Yonghua was in a daze. When the door to the lounge opened, he seemed to have woken up from a dream. Finally, he rushed forward and the words that he thought he would never say rushed out of his throat. Supervisor Bai, you should know that I didn't choose a side. Supervisor Bai aimed her dark glasses at him. Are you refuting me? Fine, so what if I have wronged you? Yes, you are very self-aware. You gave up your job at the Apocalypse Laboratory. And your research mission you came to Xia City and took charge. I heard that you even want to pursue the He family's daughter? Yin Yonghua was a little stunned and did not know how to answer. Supervisor Bai's lips cracked slightly, revealing a beautiful and magnanimous smile. Do you want to realize your self-worth? What is your value? I'm sorry, I have to quote someone. Without the platform of Quantum Corporation and the Apocalypse Laboratory, you are nothing. You chose the excavation mission and chose to work as a human. You are destined to be dominated by God. If you chose the research mission and chose to work as a god, then dedicate yourself to God. Now do you understand where your mistake is? You are indeed on the wrong team. You are wrong because you are on your own side. Yin Yongbo was stunned on the spot. You are the first burner since the creation of Earth. You should understand where your value lies. If you are willing to cooperate, you can show it at any time. These 4 teams of Deep Blue Walkers are still yours. Supervisor Bai raised her hand and shook her fingers lightly, bidding him farewell. Soon, Supervisor Bai's figure disappeared into the VIP passageway. Yin Yongbo stood at the door in a daze. Inside the room, Hu Yuli saw him like this. He was delighted but also felt a little sad. In the end, all that was left was rejoicing. Fortunately, I am going to retire. I missed another chapter. As of yesterday, I have updated 30 chapters in 9 days. That is 6 chapters less than expected. I really overestimated myself. Fortunately, the holidays are coming soon. Current progress. Subscription monthly pass February 15th. In addition, adjust the update time. Try to avoid being affected by class affairs. The 4 updates will be at 8 o'clock, 1400 hours, 2000 hours and 2400 hours. Do your best to update at a fixed time. The positive and negative time should not exceed half an hour. But if you adjust the schedule, it will probably be at the end of the holidays. Everyone, please bear with these 2 points and lose weight. Chapter 165. It was 5 o'clock in the afternoon and it was drizzling. Due to the terrible weather, the lighting on the low-altitude public bus was dim. Luo Nan grew more and more drowsy and Mo Peng, who was next to him, yawned because of Luo Nan. Hey, you've been treating me for the past few days, but there's no effect at all. Cough, I just feel like sleeping. Why don't we sleep somewhere else? Well, you go to sleep now. If I fall into the game hall, will I still be able to do business with the owner? Luo Nan was discharged from the hospital on the 3rd and stayed at home for another 4 days. In the end, Mrs. Luo Shuqing felt that staying cooped up at home wasn't a good idea. She had Mo Peng urge Luo Nan to go out and relax. However, Luo Nan really wasn't in high spirits. Anyone who was carrying a bomb that could explode at any time would probably feel the same as him. More than a week of treatment was not as ineffective as Mo Peng had said. His lethargy, coughing, and other symptoms had been greatly alleviated, at least until last night. Yesterday was the night of October 6th. The Blood Flame Order, which had been silent for many days, probably felt that most of the people's energy was focused on the Deep Blue Walkers. The rumors regarding the human-faced arachnid had died down, so they resumed their grazing activities. As before, Mo Luan led the Wraith Sign, who had perfectly disguised himself as a former member of the same species. He circled all over Xia City. Then he was very lucky to bump into a member of the same species who wasn't so lucky. Wu, the Wraith Sign, swallowed a mouthful of the Wraith Sign, treating it as a dessert. Then Luo Nan had a lot of fun. Luo Nan had managed to alleviate the imbalance between his body and soul with great difficulty, but the Wraith Sign's feedback caused the situation to collapse in an instant. Were it not for Luo Nan's out-of-body state and digesting this benefit in advance, it was very likely that his blood would have splattered all over the health pod. It would have been a huge news event at Renai Hospital. Next, Luo Nan paced back and forth outside his fleshly body for most of the night. He made repeated attempts before he was able to use the dynamo core as a buffer to carefully store his soul back into his fleshly body. However, it was also this torment that caused his soul strength to increase by another level, causing the pressure on his physical body to increase once more. This caused all the healing he had done in the past few days to go to waste. All the symptoms showed signs of relapse. After exchanging a few words with Mo Peng, he started coughing again. Mo Peng didn't know what to do with him. He was going to the game hall to enjoy a feast later. If this chapter is not finished, please turn the page. Now that he found it boring to play mobile games, he didn't know what to do. Out of boredom, he glanced at the public projector of the low-altitude bus station, which was showing the current hot topics. Star Associated Society's Deep Blue Walkers. The talkative host, the dull expert, the slick expert, and the well-produced video editing combined to form a quadrilateral that constantly changed its center of gravity. It was actually very attractive. Mo Peng was captivated by the edited footage of the Deep Blue Walker. At that moment, the program entered the interactive segment between the audience and the experts. The host eliminated the ridiculous topics like, are there mutants in the underground of Xia City? And does the deep blue walkers symbolize war? He chose a more professional and more basic question. There's a saying that deep blue walkers don't just refer to a single piece of equipment. They also don't refer to a single person. Only when the burner is combined with a deep blue armor custom made for them can they be considered a true deep blue walker. Is that right? Wrong. The dull expert was an authoritative figure in the relevant field. His professional knowledge was impeccable. He immediately replied, strictly speaking, deep blue walkers can be considered a kind of systematic concept. It is established on the basis of system theory and the archetype neural format theory. It requires the human nervous system to be the core to arrange all kinds of resources and obtain the most optimal results. The first application research of this theory was conducted by Quantum Corporation's Deep Blue project. As for the walker, it's another name for the prototype machine. It has two meanings. The first is a pedestrian on the road. The second is a Buddhist term that specifically refers to a person who has entered the path of cultivation but hasn't taken a vow. In other words, this research is only at the beginning. It's just on the road. There's still a lot of follow-up work to do. In terms of the individual, the burner is fully deserving of being the core. It's just that it's limited by the natural conditions of the human body. It needs a special exoskeleton to supplement and assist. Therefore, the relationship between the burner and the custom-made armor is one of leading and supporting. It's not a parallel relationship. From my personal point of view, the relationship between man and machine should be that of core and supporting. The supporting equipment supports the lower limit of a deep blue walker. The autonomous consciousness of man determines the upper limit of a deep blue walker. The host was already starting to regret letting the dull expert speak. At this moment, who knew how many people in the audience at this moment? It was unknown how many people in the audience were watching. They would close their eyes and yawn. Or they would simply switch channels. Mo Peng was one of the yawning members of the audience. But when he turned his head, he saw that Luonan had raised his head at an unknown time. Luonan was staring fixedly at the projection screen. Alright, this wooden expert was promoting the archetype formatting theory. It was the thing that Luonan couldn't stand. Mo Peng was really worried that Luonan would get angry and fall sick again. He hurriedly advised, this bro is showing off. It's as if he's the only one who understands. What you say isn't without reason. Luonan was referring to the words, autonomous consciousness of man, that came after the wooden expert. It coincided with the situation he had been tossing and turning these past few days. It was just that the situation was a bit more complicated. But Luonan could foresee that if he could increase the endurance of his fleshly body, then the lower limit of his abilities would correspondingly increase. The problem was how to do it. It was practically impossible to keep up with the tempo of increasing the strength of his fleshly body step by step. Then should he transform his body? Mo Peng gave him a push just as he was muttering to himself, let's go. We're at our stop. The low-altitude bus stopped at the most bustling city center of Xia City. No matter what time of day it was, this place was always filled with people. Luonan did not have a good feeling about this place because it was far too stifling. As he walked on the pedestrian walkway, the towering buildings all around him seemed as if they would collapse at any time. Ahaha, Frost River reality. I'm coming again. Mo Peng suddenly became excited. Luonan raised his head and saw the gorgeous holographic advertising wall of Frost River reality not too far away. It was currently broadcasting scenes of hot-blooded battles. Battles in the wilderness, battles in lava, battles in the deep sea, battles in space. Each and every battle scene seemed to be real. They attracted the gazes of passers-by. Virtual reality had a fatal attraction to almost all young people. As the largest reality-based chain store in Xia City, every Frost River reality was actually a large-scale amusement park. There was no need to worry about not having a place to kill time. Of course, with Mo Peng's personality, it was impossible for him to quietly come and play with 2 or 3 people. Just as he was looking left and right for people, a call came in, Peng 17, Nanster, come over here. You guys are really slow. I've been drinking so much cold drinks that my spine is about to freeze. A group of young boys and girls had already stopped at an ice cream store near Frost River reality. They were just waiting for them to come over. Chapter 166. The Frozen Star Ice Cream Shop was a famous chain business in Xia City. Although it was past peak season, it was backed by Frost River reality. Business was still great on Sunday nights. When Luonan and Mo Peng came in, they nearly got lost in the crowd. Luckily, the number of men and women waiting for them was not small. They were quite eye-catching as they waved. The group of people sat at 2 tables, which made the place more spacious. What was interesting was that most of the people here had the surname Mo. The Luo family was not very populous in Xia City, but the Mo family was flourishing here. Uncle Mo Haihang had 5 brothers and sisters, and he was related to them in various ways. It was not difficult at all for him to pull together hundreds of people. Including his cousins, Mo Peng's age was ranked 17th among his siblings. He was usually called Peng 17. During festivals, Luonan would not even be able to straighten his tongue when greeting his uncles, aunts, cousins, or grandnephews. He would hide if he could. Of course, as a child living in his aunt's house, he was indeed an outsider to the Mo clan. He didn't have any blood relations with them, and with his temperament, most of his peers were just nodding acquaintances. Usually Moya and Mo Peng would drag him along, so they would occasionally get together. Hear, hear. The one who waved the most cheerfully was Mo Han, the one who had just contacted Mo Peng. Mo Peng called her Sister 16, without the slightest trace of politeness. On the other hand, Luonan still called her Sister Han from a distance. In the past he had followed Mo Peng and called her Sister Pomegranate 16, but he did not want to call her that. It was probably because of the Mo family's genes. Other than Moya with her super long legs, the youngsters of the Mo family were not too tall. Mo Han, this lively girl, was clearly 2 years older than him. She was going to go to college next year, but she was shorter than Luonan by half a head. Her beaming smile made her look very innocent. She could play with anyone. Luonan followed Mo Peng shouting. The oldest of the Mo family siblings was Mo Chen. He was ranked 7th. He was already in his 3rd year, but he was the same as Mo Peng. He was a veteran game geek. His major was game design. He was always the leader of such activities. Mo Peng always acted as his assistant and began to count heads. 7th brother, 9th brother, 13th sister. If this chapter is not finished, please turn the page. Sister Pomegranate? Oh my. Nanzi, brother Lu, brother Jiang, and brother Jia are all here, right? Lu, Jiang, and Jia were all members of Mo Cheng's gaming team, so they were used to playing together. Mo Cheng waved his hand. Let's wait a little longer. Chen hasn't arrived yet. And 3rd brother, he's also here and he's treating us today. Mo Peng was very surprised. Chen was the only female member of Mo Cheng's team. It was normal for her to be here. However, the 3rd son of the Mo family, Mo Chio, was almost 30 years old this year. He was at the age to start a family and start a career. He had long passed the age to play around with these young people. Furthermore, he was someone who always put on airs. This was not right. Mo Han blinked and lowered her voice. I heard that they're here for a blind date. Till? Mo Peng still didn't understand. Blind date? Doesn't he have a girlfriend? They broke up. They used to be in the same unit. Now that he's jumped ship to a new company, they broke up quickly. This one seems to be someone he met through Sister Chen. She's in the University Department of Acumen College? Acumen College? What a coincidence. Mo Peng looked at Luonan. She's a teacher. No way. She's a student. Holy crap. An old cow eating young grass. Mo Han wrinkled her nose. I heard that she's a beauty. She's an officer in the University Department of Acumen College. She's graduating this year? Hey Lil, Nanzi, it's time for you to play your role. Is there such a person in your school? Luonan just laughed. How could he say anything? Mo Peng was very impressed. It looks like 3rd brother Chio has struck it rich. He invited the 10 of us to play games for the sake of a blind date? In the name of friendship. Mo Han had the appearance of someone who understood the world. Playing games is good. Don't look at how many people there are. Who cares about who in virtual reality? In the end, aren't they the ones alone? They can do whatever they want. Mo Peng gave a thumbs up to this Sister Pomegranate who dared to say anything. At this time, Mo Chio, who became the center of the conversation, walked into the ice cream shop. He was dressed casually. His height was average, but his figure was maintained quite well. He looked very spirited. He had the maturity of a person in society and a bit of superiority. Perhaps it was very lethal to young girls who had yet to leave school. Mo Chio frowned a bit at the noise of the ice cream shop. This chapter is not finished. Please turn the page. This wasn't his ideal location for a friendship. Actually, Frost River reality wasn't it either. But since he was already here, he would take things as they came. He greeted his group of brothers and sisters. His posture was calm and he looked very confident. After taking a seat, he asked Mo Ching, Ching 7, they haven't arrived yet? Chin just went to pick up her sister from the hospital. She just happened to be here to relax. She might be a bit late. How many people are coming over there? Currently there are 3 women and 1 man. Chin and her sister are your targets. One of them might be her sister's boyfriend. Oh, they're here. As soon as Mo Ching said this, everyone's gazes turned towards him in unison. Which one is the blind date? Sister Chen's left or right? It's definitely the left. She's over there. She suits third bro's taste very well. The one on the right should be Sister Chen's sister. She's almost 1.7 meters tall. She's only in high school. Third bro shouldn't be this shameless. Mo Ping chuckled. High school? High school is good. She can socialize with me too. Mo Han extended her hand and gestured on top of his head. Girls with short bodies are cute. Boys with short bodies? She suddenly felt the unfriendly gazes from all around her halfway through her words. She stuck out her tongue and stopped talking. Chin's group had already arrived while they were whispering. Mo Chio took the lead and everyone stood up to greet them. Luonan just stood up when he saw the slim woman next to Sister Chin. He was stupefied. She didn't immediately discover Luonan in the crowd. Instead, she followed her sister and greeted everyone. But she still had to see. The 2 locked gazes. Luonan had already mentally prepared himself, but the other's face paled. She didn't make a sound. Sister Chin had already introduced herself clearly. My sister, Chin Xiaolin. Acumen College's Mutual Aid Association's secretary? That's right. She was Shui Lei's girlfriend, Chin Xiaolin, who was admitted to the hospital for treatment after suffering a fright at the Limestone Water Village pub last Friday. Luonan never expected to bump into her in this kind of situation. It looked like Chin Xiaolin's impression of him hadn't been eased by nearly 10 days of treatment. This was awkward. Chapter 167. It just so happened that Luonan rarely hung out with this group of people. Chin Xiaolin, who was also the Chin that Mo Ching spoke of, was not too familiar with Luonan. Chin Xiaolin, who was also the Chin that Mo Ching spoke of, was introduced to Luonan along the way. She was a bit stumped when she suddenly saw this somewhat unfamiliar face. The awkwardness that was displayed on the surface actually covered up Chin Xiaolin's unnatural movements. At this time, it was the experienced Mo Chio who came to the rescue. What do you think? Our 5th uncle's son, Nanster, has changed after attending Acumen College, right? You can say that Acumen College is nurturing people. Xiaolin, you didn't give me this much pressure the last time we met. Mo Chio's self-deprecation and flattery eased the awkwardness. Everyone laughed. However, there were also some parts that were a little inappropriate. Mo Han secretly complained, it's destroying people, right? They just came out of the hospital. Chin Xiaolin was able to form a battle squad with a bunch of big men. She was a character that wouldn't lose to men. She wasn't faking it. She immediately patted Luonan's shoulder. So it's Nanster. I didn't recognize you just now. It looks like we haven't played together much. You just got in this year, right? Xiaolin is 1 year ahead of you, so let her take care of you in the future. If they bully you, just tell me. If it was under normal circumstances, Mo Chio and Chin Xiaolin would have let the matter pass. But the problem was that Luonan wasn't a person with particularly strong adaptability. As for Chin Xiaolin, she was usually smart and capable, but her mind was unsettled right now. Her reaction was extremely terrible. She didn't follow up. She didn't even pay attention to her older sister's words. Junior Luo, long time no see. Chin Xiaolin's abnormal reaction immediately attracted Chin Xiaolin's attention. In fact, Chin Xiaolin's current performance was quite different from her previous performance. Mo Peng and Mo Han hid to the side and whispered, "Holy crap, there's something going on." But to Luonan, this level was practically a loud announcement right next to his ear. Luonan glared fiercely at them. Chin Xiaolin didn't hear the whispers on the other side. Even if she did, she would pretend not to hear it. She was a little curious. What? You guys know each other? Is Acumen College that small? I just met her last week. Senior Sister Chin even helped me. What else could Luonan say? He could only deal with it first. If this chapter is not finished, please turn the page. However, at this moment, a voice from the other side joined in. So you're also a junior from the academy? Last Friday, did you participate in the mutual assistance buffet party? The one who spoke was Mo Chio's target, Tianxi. She looked rather petite and beautiful, and her smile was especially alluring. No wonder Mo Chio was trying so hard to woo her. Yes. Hello, Senior Tian. Luonan also remembered that he seemed to have met this person before. It was either the student council or a member of the Student Assistance Association. However, President xuanhuan was too dazzling back then, so the impression of the people behind him was already very shallow. If it wasn't for the fact that the information matched, he wouldn't have been able to recall it. Tianxi laughed quite happily. Acumen College's power has suddenly risen greatly here. Junior Luo, Xiaolin, Tianqi, and me are almost one-third of the total. Tianqi was the only male in Qin Xiaolin's group. He was also Tianxi's cousin. He was tall and thin and had a refined manner. It was obvious that he was interested in Qin Xiaolin. He stared at Luo Nan from the moment Qin Xiaolin's expression changed. His suspicion carried a hint of vigilance. However, when Tianxi mentioned him, she still smiled at Luo Nan. She extended her hand and shook hands with Luo Nan, calling him Junior. At the very least, she didn't lack elegance. Luo Nan inexplicably felt that this was a bit absurd. He could sense it very clearly. Right now, the group of 4 from Acumen College was conversing back and forth, but they all coincidentally circled around one person. However, they were constantly affected by this person, Shuelei. Emotional issues. Luo Nan felt his teeth ache just thinking about it. Luo Nan wouldn't easily get involved in areas he didn't understand at all. However, he had participated in the unforeseen event between Shuelei and Qin Xiaolin to a large extent. He didn't feel that he had done anything wrong. Back at the Limestone Water Village pub, the human-faced arachnid had already set its eyes on Shuelei. It had taken control of the society's ability user, Black Wolf, to launch a pincer attack. It was clear that the human-faced arachnid wanted to treat Shuelei as food. If he hadn't exposed them on the spot, the consequences would have been too horrible to contemplate. But looking at it from another angle, if Luo Nan hadn't hypnotized the emotional Qin Xiaolin during the fight between Shuelei and the Black Wolf, Qin Xiaolin's psychological suggestion wouldn't have been so intense. He was more or less responsible. No matter how much undercurrent surged between the group of 4 from Acumen College, it wasn't the main topic of tonight's event. Frost River Reality and the Fellowship were the main topic. Please continue to the next page if this chapter doesn't end. Everyone got to know each other. They left their seats under Emochio's initiative. They entered the reception hall of Frost River Reality in a grandiose manner through the inner door of the ice cream store. This was undoubtedly the intersection point between the virtual world and the real world. Even though they had yet to come into contact with the most core of reality technology, there were interactive AR virtual images everywhere in the hall. Iron-blooded, cool, cute. They were all jumbled together. It looked messy, but the high-frequency interactions between people and virtual images and between virtual images were still very interesting to watch. At the very least, it was very cute for girls. Luo Nan quietly fell to the back of the group amidst the sudden clamor. He muttered to himself for a bit and finally decided to give Shuelei a call. The call connected quickly. Hello, Leicester. Where are you? I'm helping out at the Daoguan. Shuelei's voice was still very loud. You're coming to class tomorrow, right? Why don't you come live in Blue Bay? We can go for a morning run together. Shuelei had called to greet Luo Nan when he was sick and hospitalized. He originally wanted to come and visit, but the hospital's visiting hours conflicted with the school's curriculum, so he gave up. He couldn't be as casual as Xie Junping. I'm afraid my aunt won't agree. Luo Nan grinned. In the end, he brought up the topic of conversation. Leicester, let me ask you something. You and senior sister Qin. There was no need to say it too clearly. Shuelei suddenly went silent. He wasn't someone who was good at hiding his personality. When he spoke again, he was extremely depressed. She steeled her heart to not meet with me. She's not even picking up my phone right now. The doctor said that it's best to keep a bit of distance from her to avoid provoking her. Am I a freaking monster? Luo Nan scratched his head when he heard this. He hesitated for a moment before saying, I saw her at Frost River Reality. Right now, I'm playing with her and a few friends. Why don't you come over and meet me? We can talk things over. Which Frost River Reality? City Center, Fudong Main Street. I'll be right there. Shuelei didn't say anything further. He hung up the phone and presumably rushed over in a hurry. But it would take at least 2 hours to get here from the Riverwu district on the weekend. Luo Nan was really worried that he would come over empty-handed. He suddenly sensed something while he was pondering. He raised his head and saw Qin Xiaolin stop in front of him. She turned around to look at him. Chapter 168. Clearly, Qin Xiaolin was deliberately waiting for Luo Nan. Luo Nan greeted, Senior Sister Qin. Qin Xiaolin spoke very bluntly, You're in contact with Leicester? Luo Nan was a bit embarrassed. His coughing came surging up at this time and his face turned red. But now that they had pulled away from the team in front of them, some things could be said. I heard that senior sister hasn't seen him all this time. Actually, the matter at the time? Luonan coughed with great difficulty. He wanted to explain but he didn't know where to start. From the bottom of his heart, he felt that it was better for Qin Xiaolin to never know about this level of things. I can more or less understand what happened. Oh. Qin Xiaolin watched Luonan, but the focus of her gaze wasn't on his face. My dad used to be a special police officer. Leicester's father was also a special police officer. Their profession always brings them into contact with some very dangerous things. When faced with vicious criminals and the like, there's no reason. Violence is the solution, right? Luonan could only nod his head in understanding. The profession of a special police officer is very dangerous. Right now, Leicester's father is more or less a police officer. But my dad wasn't that lucky. He was blown to pieces during a mission. This happened about 7 or 8 years ago. Luonan was stunned hearing this. He wanted to open his mouth to console her but he felt that it was meaningless. Plus, Qin Xiaolin's attitude was very calm and unperturbed. Junior brother Luo, I don't need to hide it from you. Leicester is the type that I really like. He's just like my father. He's firm, strong, simple, and generous. But when I think about how he might be like my father in the future, struggling between all kinds of dangers and never getting tired of it, I can't accept this. Qin Xiaolin shook her head amidst Luonan's silence. She suddenly laughed, and more realistically, I can't understand Leicester and your logic. Luonan spoke in a low voice. Senior sister, you're saying? Qin Xiaolin stared at him. Why did you and Leicester act like it was a matter of course when faced with that kind of situation? You didn't feel surprised at all? Panic? It was as if the surroundings should be filled with these things. Did you know? Your expressions at the time made my heart go cold. At this point, Qin Xiaolin took a deep breath and finally said, You and I may not be people of the same world. I can't understand and I don't want to understand, let alone come into contact with you. Luonan was silent again. A long while passed before he said, I have a general understanding of senior's intentions. But I don't know anything about this sort of thing. I just thought that between you and me, if this chapter is not finished, please turn the page. It's rare to be able to say things out loud like this. I think with Leicester's personality he's definitely not the kind of person who pesters others, right? At the same time, Luonan could see that Qin Xiaolin was an extremely rational person. She probably wouldn't turn back once she made her intentions clear. He was pessimistic about the results of Xuelei's visit. But no one could accept this for Xuelei. Qin Xiaolin was indeed reasonable. She nodded gently. All right, let him come. Let's make things clear. Then thank you, senior sister Qin. Luonan nodded and let out a secret sigh of relief. This sort of thing was a domain he was unable to understand. Forcing himself to do this caused a layer of hot sweat to appear on his back. The distance between the two and the group grew further and further. Many people turned their heads to look, especially Tianqi. He kept his gaze cast over, looking a bit gloomy. Luonan could understand the knot in Qin Xiaolin's heart, but some things weren't that easy to accept. He thought for a bit and couldn't help but ask, that person? Qin Xiaolin laughed. She actually flexed her arm to make a bulging motion. He's not my type. Clearly, Qin Xiaolin's mental state had calmed down quite a bit after talking about this matter. She could tell jokes now. This was obviously good for her, but the result for Xuelei would only be more negative. Luonan sighed in his mind. He and Qin Xiaolin increased their pace to catch up to the group. Right now, the situation of the large group was quite interesting. Most people were paying attention to the center of attention of this get-together, which was Emochio and Tianxi. However, Tianxi was paying attention to Tianqi, and Tianqi was paying attention to Qin Xiaolin. This chain of attention continued on, and unwittingly, Luonan and Qin Xiaolin became the center of everyone's gazes. Of course, Luonan and Qin Xiaolin were magnanimous, but people felt that they weren't magnanimous enough. Tianqi found it hard to say some things, so Tianxi smiled and said, Junior Nan, what are you talking about with our Xiaolin? Could it be that the matter last week wasn't settled? Was it because of the society? Alright. Mo Peng realized something in hindsight. Last Wednesday, I remember my sister saying that you were going to test for the Mystic Arts Research Society. Did you pass? Luonan was speechless. Mo Peng, you've gone stupid from playing games. Over 10 days have passed. Just how slow are you going to be? You're still holding on to the past and not letting go? Tianxi and Luonan broke into laughter and surprise before Luonan could respond. Tianxi said, The Mystic Arts Research Society? Tianqi is in the Mystic Arts Research Society. Luonan was a bit surprised. Xianxia finally had the chance to speak formally. He felt that it was a bit funny but also very strange. This chapter is not finished. Please turn the page. I've been helping out with the newcomer's interview, but I've never seen him before. Luonan, this name sounds quite familiar. He stared at Luonan, sizing him up for a while. Then he suddenly cried out involuntarily, "Oh right. You're not the one who missed the exam, right? You didn't show up for the interview on Thursday. There were even people who tried to contact you, but they couldn't get in touch with you. The school system showed that you skipped classes for the entire day. We were all fired." What? Missed the exam? Skipped classes for the entire day? Acumen College, is this cool? Lil, Nanster, you really make people have a whole new level of respect for you. Luonan discovered very innocently that he had suddenly become the target of criticism. Xianxia was a bit inexplicably excited when this situation suddenly occurred. His words grew more and more discordant. It's already quite late for our society's entrance exam. You skipped the exam. Does that mean you haven't joined the society yet? On the other side, Xianxia shook her head. She turned to look at Xianhuan. Our society doesn't seem to have any arrangements. Did you miss it when you were admitted to the hospital that day, Xianhuan? It'll be hard to enter the society after you pass that window. Xianxia's expression was awkward and strange. Upon closer inspection, it was probably the type where he wanted to laugh but was holding it in. He wanted to increase his strength but was forcefully holding it back. But in the end, he still couldn't help but say, "Junior, it's not that I want to say this, but it's too much of a pity for you to miss the opportunity to enter the society. Plus, 8 credits will be deducted from your year." Luonan understood Xianxia's current state of mind very well. He felt a bit helpless and bored. When all was said and done, he had no enmity with this person. There was a 50% chance that they would work together in the same society in the future. He didn't want to make things too ugly. Just as Luonan was about to explain, Han, who had just been loudly mocking Luonan and wanting to have a whole new level of respect for Luonan, was aroused by Xianxia's attitude. Her eyes jumped back in the blink of an eye. The Mystic Arts Research Society? The one that studies alchemy? How popular can a place like that be? Xianxia's tolerance for the little beauty was quite high. He laughed and spoke rather proudly. Our society has ample funds. All sorts of projects are being carried out. They mainly lean towards mental and material interference, religious rituals, magical spells, Eastern metaphysics, and so on. Among them, large amounts of microscopic particles, human elements, psychology, systems theory, and other frontier subjects are involved. Han snorted coldly, deliberately mystifying. Little girl, this isn't mystifying. Suddenly, an arm wrapped around Han's shoulder and pulled her into a hug, pressing half of the little girl's body into an embrace. The smell of alcohol and saliva sprayed onto the side of her face as she chuckled. Han was caught off guard and screamed in fright. "I'm finally home. I wish everyone a happy Mid-Autumn festival. I'm going all out to finish writing." Chapter 169. Everything happened too suddenly. The group of people watched as Han was forcefully held in someone's arms. They didn't react in time. Peng, who was the closest, was the first to rush over. He grabbed the man's arm and helped the struggling Han break free. Tao, Han's elder brother and the strongest member of the group, let out a low roar and rushed forward, slamming the man against the wall and grabbing his collar. "You're not going to die," Tao said. "What are you doing?" "F***CK me. What the F***CK are you doing?" The man was pressed against the wall, but his voice was even louder than Tao's. The smell of alcohol coming from his mouth was nauseating. He was clearly very drunk. Luonan and the others were at the place where they had just walked past the reception hall and entered the passage. The environment suddenly became narrow. A dozen or so people formed a circle, blocking most of the passage. The drunkard hoodlum shouted a few words, but he seemed to sober up a bit when he saw the dense mass of people before him. He was a bit scared for a time and stopped for 2 seconds. But soon, his drunken eyes caught a glimpse of a certain person in the crowd. He immediately stretched out his hand and swung it twice. Finally, he placed it on Tao's shoulder and pointed at Xianxia, who was dumbfounded and had his mouth agape. "What's up, little Xianxia? You can just flip your face when you want it outside? The Officer Huang." Xianxia blurted out the first word, but he couldn't hold back the rest of the words. The man's many years of accumulated power made him feel weak in his heart. But the current situation truly exceeded the limits of his face. His fair face soon flushed red. If he could, Tianqi would certainly want to dig a hole in the ground and bury himself in it. Fortunately, his cousin Tianxi stepped forward bravely and angrily rebuked, "Huang Bingjin, what kind of drunken madness is this?" The drunkard hoodlum narrowed his eyes. With great difficulty, he saw Tianxi's face clearly under the blurred light of the hallway. He laughed again. "Tianxi. See Sister Cece." This guy called Huang Bingjin was at most in his 20s. His drunken face perfectly accentuated his usual arrogance. "Sister Cece, long time no see. What's up? Is it the student union or the student union? These people around me look unfamiliar. Don't crowd around me, I'm bored." He tried hard to pry Mo Tao's hand away but failed. This made him a little annoyed. "Hey, you already know who I am. Who are you trying to fool?" At that moment, some people in the crowd, "If this chapter is not finished, please turn the page." Luonan finally found some relevant memories. That's right, it's this Huang Bingjin. According to the intelligence report, he's an officer of the Mystic Arts Research Society. He's a typical rich second generation and a pervert. Last Friday night at the Limestone Water Village pub, Cat Eyes had smashed him into the wall. Perhaps it was because he had taken too many drugs at the time, but that experience clearly did not teach him a sufficient lesson. Tianxi naturally knew the ins and outs of Huang Bingjin. She wasn't afraid of his position in the school, but she was afraid of the Huang family's social influence. Her expression was very unsightly. "Huang Bingjin, who did you come with? If you're drunk, go puke in the toilet. Is it fun to lose face outside? The Mystic Arts Research Society and Acumen College have lost all face because of you." Huang Bingjin had a cheeky grin on his face. "It's fine. Sister Cece is so pretty. She'll grow back sooner or later." Everyone could see that there was no way to communicate with this fellow at this time. Mo Chio confirmed that Mo Han wasn't injured, so he didn't want to tangle with her any longer. He took advantage of the situation to close the distance between him and Tianxi. He lightly embraced her shoulder. "Let's go. We can't lower ourselves to the level of a drunkard. Taojiu, let's go." Mo Tao glared fiercely at Huang Bingjin. He grabbed Huang Bingjin by the collar and slammed him into the wall before letting go. Who knew that once Huang Bingjin regained his freedom, he would run his mouth like a train. "Hey, my friend over there. You're familiar with this line of work. Did you ask me for permission before doing this? Did you ask their president, Chin Chin?" This fellow had an intoxicated look on his face, but his heart wasn't. His words were poisonous. Tianxi's face turned green from anger, but the more she was like this, the more excited Huang Bingjin became. "So you guys are all hooking up, but I'm not allowed to hug a little girl. Come, little girl. Let me tell you about the Mystic Arts Research Society." He reached out to hug Mo Han as he spoke, but Mo Han, who had come back to her senses, wasn't someone easy to deal with. She immediately kicked out, hitting Huang Bingjin's shin bone. Mo Han was wearing pointy leather shoes. Her kick was filled with hatred. Huang Bingjin immediately let out a miserable groan. He hugged his leg and jumped, but he didn't stand firm. He fell to the ground, battered and exhausted. "Let's go." Mo Chio didn't want to make a big deal out of this. He suppressed the unhappiness in his heart and called his companions to leave. The group of people walked inside, leaving Huang Bingjin behind. Huang Bingjin shouted, "F*ck me, F*ck me." When they reached the corner of the passage, Mo Peng turned his head and swept a glance at Huang Bingjin, who was still cursing on the ground. He muttered, "This guy's mouth is too sharp. I'm afraid I won't be able to have fun tonight. This chapter is not finished. Please turn the page." Luo Nan grunted. He looked at Tianxi and Tianqi's preoccupied appearances. This was indeed the case. When they turned the corner, Luo Nan's line of sight could no longer be seen. However, the range of Luo Nan's mental senses still covered Huang Bingjin. He discovered that someone had gone over to greet Huang Bingjin just as they turned the corner. Clearly, this person had seen the conflict earlier but intentionally avoided trouble. Luo Nan had actually seen this person before. He was Lu Tao from Xie Juanping's circle of friends. At the same time, he was also a high-ranking member of the construction society. He wore gold-rimmed glasses and had a very scholarly appearance. Huang Bingjin was from the Mystic Arts Research Society. The circle of this group of rich second-generation kids far exceeded the circle of the school societies. It didn't seem like a cruel bidding war was going on at all. Tonight, Mo Chio had actually spared no expense for this get-together. He specifically booked a large private room to facilitate the preparation work before entering. After the group of people entered the private room, They were guided by the AI to the scanning area to stand. The relevant equipment examined their body shapes, body characteristics, and so on. Data models were built, peripherals were matched, and so on were used to achieve the best effect of reality. Actually, the vast majority of people had accounts at Frost River Reality. A single scan was enough to connect with their previous data. They could stand for a bit and come out. But there were always exceptions to everything. Only Luonan could not get through the scan. Mo Peng was impatient. What's going on? Master, I brought you to play before. As a veteran gaming geek, Mo Ching was quite clear about the things here. He shook his head and said, Nanster, you came last year. You're half a head taller than last year. You've developed, but you don't play often. The system needs to readjust. Luonan was well aware that the drug stimulation had caused quite a large change to his body over the years. Now there was no more drug stimulation, but under the stimulation of soul strength, the changes would probably be even greater in the days to come. He laughed. Actually, it's nothing. I told you earlier that I wouldn't play sensual games. Why wouldn't you play? Han found it strange. Isn't this the reason we came to Frost River Reality? This? Luonan's skin finally went through, but a rare yellow light lit up in the scanning area. There was also a prompt. Distinguished customer, we are very sorry to disturb your gaming progress. Since you are currently undergoing treatment, according to the doctor's advice, please do not engage in highly stimulating games. Strive to update on time tomorrow and try to make up for it. Current payment progress. Monthly subscription March 15th. Chapter 170. Following the sound of the notification, Luonan's account in Frost River Reality had many privileges temporarily locked down. They were displayed as restricted. Even the peripherals and equipment that were sent over were different from those of other people. Everyone in the room looked at each other in dismay. I've lived long enough to see something like this happen? Even an expert like Mo Cheng had never seen such a situation before. He clicked his tongue in wonder for a time. Luonan was calm. The scan results were one thing. The most important thing was that his medical records from Rinai Hospital had been entered into the database. This situation only occurred when the two were combined. It could not be said that Frost River Reality was wrong. Many of the current somatosensory games used microstimulation of the nervous system to obtain more realistic effects. For Luonan, whose nervous system operated at a high rate, this was a big taboo. Mo Ching walked over to look at the specific restrictions and shook his head. I can't go to Area A and B. I can only play in Area C. The gaming area of Frost River Reality had a total of 3 levels. Area A was Reality Replica, Area B was Reality Immersion, and Area C was Reality Experience. The intensity of stimulation to the nervous system decreased in order. Of course, the degree of playability was the same. Area C was generally targeted at the elderly, children, or adults who wanted to relax. Young people who pursued excitement generally disdained this area. Luonan had talked to Mo Peng about the intensity of the game before he came. He just did not expect Frost River Reality and the hospital to be so extreme. Mo Peng reacted quickly. He spoke with a sense of loyalty. Then how about this? I'll accompany Nanster to Area C to practice his wilderness skills. You guys go wherever you need to go. Luonan walked out of the scan area and put on his combat suit peripherals. At the same time he shook his head. I don't need you to accompany me. You can go play with Brother Seven and the others. It was not easy for a gaming madman like Mo Peng to come here. He definitely wanted to go to the most exciting area, Area A, to experience the effects of reality to the fullest. Mo Peng was still thinking about it. At this time, Tianxi smiled and raised her hand. I can't play games. I can't stand things that are too exciting. I'll stay in Area C. Since she had started, Mo Chio laughed. I'll also stay in Area C. Everyone else can play however they want. Just be careful. Ching 7, don't go crazy. Watch over everyone. No problem. Mo Ching said this. It was hard to say how much he listened. If this chapter is not finished, please turn the page. Qin Xiaolin wasn't very interested, but Mo Han and Mo Rue pulled her to Area B. Tianqi also had a lot on his mind, but he definitely had to be on guard against this kind of natural third wheel. At that moment, Mo Tao and Mo Peng dragged him to Area A. The group of people were quickly assigned and left in a huff. Nanster, where do you want to go play? Mo Chio asked Luonan's opinion in a very considerate manner. The problem was that he was closer to Tianxi right now. It seemed that he was really interested in Tianxi. Huang Bingzhen's dirty words didn't affect him at all. Luonan didn't have any intentions of being a third wheel. He found a random reason. Third brother, you guys don't need to worry about me. I'm going to the 10 days in the wilderness to do some basic training. I'm also going to train my body in passing. Alone? No, Mo Peng can also turn on the guidance mode in Zone A. I'll call him when I get there. Luonan's wristband received a call as he spoke. It was an unfamiliar number. It just so happened that Luonan was about to pull away from the two main participants of the social gathering. Luonan raised his hand and gestured for them to move to the side. Hello, Mr. Luo. I'm Bai Xinyan. Luonan was stupefied for a moment before he reacted. Bai Xinyan? Wasn't that the brilliant disciple of Dr. Clay that Octopus Bro had mentioned? The one who had come to Xia City to help Octopus Bro with his early treatment and data collection? Especially since she was Mr. Bai's daughter, Luonan hurriedly added a greeting. Hello, Ms. Bai. Bai Xinyan's voice was low and gentle. It was very pleasing to the ear. Mr. Luo, the examination will only start tomorrow night. However, I just retrieved the information from Ren AI Hospital and the association. I saw the results of the automatic examination last night. It seems that there are signs of relapse. How do you feel now? Luonan secretly admired this person's strict attitude, but he couldn't say that the wraith sign was cheating him. He could only vaguely say, I really do feel a bit uncomfortable. I feel like the pressure has increased. Perhaps your soul power has grown again. There will always be a period of rapid growth before and after an ability user awakens. But for the current you, this is not good news. Bai Xinyan had accurately grasped the root of the problem and was very frank. Luonan was mentally prepared. Bai Xinyan continued, for the next step of treatment, I need to update some data here. I hope Mr. Luo can cooperate. I need to go back to the hospital. This chapter is not finished. Please turn the page. Is it? No need. I noticed that the Frozen Star system retrieved your information from Ren AI Hospital about 5 minutes ago. The Frozen Star system? It's the main system of Frost River reality. It's located in the supercomputer Black Dome. It's the carrier of several experimental projects of the Star Alliance Committee, the military, and the Ability User Society. It has a relatively close relationship with us. You're at Frost River reality right now, right? Fudong Avenue in the city center? He had been caught. Luonan was a bit embarrassed. He could only explain, I'm in Area C and my privileges are locked. No, Mr. Luo. You can't be in Area C. I need you to go to Area A. Frost River Reality Area A's competition space has a classic competition event. You should have heard of it before. It's the Frost River Waterway. Frost River Reality is named after it. Yes, I know. Not only did Luonan know, he had personally experienced it. It was when he followed Mo Peng and called Mo Han's sister Pomegranate. That time was simply too embarrassing. Luonan still had lingering fears just thinking about it. The Frost River Waterway is actually a human body limit test project developed by our laboratory. It's equipped with an information collection device that can be used as a detection device to revise the relevant data. Then, Luonan was just about to ask when his wristband vibrated. He received an email in his inbox. Inside was an electronic key and the relevant method of use. Bai Xinyan's deep and melodious voice lingered in his ear. This is the temporary privileges of the Frost River Waterway. You can enter Area A through this. Then all you need to do is follow the requirements of the system. Join and do your best to persevere until the end of the game. That's it? Yes, I'll arrive in about 2 hours to extract the data. If Mr. Luo has the strength to spare, you might as well do it a few more times. This will help the system collect more comprehensive information. Luonan was very surprised. Ms. Bai has already arrived in Xia City? I just arrived not long ago. Bai Xinyan did not say much. She directly concluded, I'm looking forward to our meeting. I hope you have a good time. The call ended. Luonan looked at his wristband. There was an indescribable strangeness. Why did he feel that something was wrong? Hold on. The Frost River Waterway. Do it a few more times? Luonan felt that his spine was about to freeze in an instant. Chapter 171. Luonan stood still. He stopped at the boundary between Area C and the guide area. Ahead was the reality area filled with AR virtual images. Through the strengthening of the external goggles, these virtual images had a bit of a cartoon flavor to them. It was hard to tell the difference between reality and illusion. Some advanced players could choose their virtual guide. From virtual idols to game heroes there was no problem. Therefore the area ahead suddenly became lively and clamorous. Real human figures and virtual images mixed together. It was a dazzling sight. Luo Nan talked as he walked. His speed was very slow. Emochio and Tianxi were already in front of him. He thought for a bit and did not enter Area C. Instead he used the Hexier to contact Bro Octopus. After a week of preparation, Octopus had already begun the research work on Luo Yuandao's psychotropic drug. Plus he was quite ambitious. He combined Luo Nan's practical results and opened up several groups of drugs for comparative research. He really turned into an octopus, spending several days in a row in high-intensity work. His days and nights had long since turned upside down. When Luo Nan contacted him, Octopus managed to find some time to take a nap in the laboratory. He was still a bit muddle-headed when he picked up the call. But when he heard Luo Nan's description, he instantly woke up. White Salt has returned to the country. He contacted you and wants you to go to the Frost River waterway? Octopus blurted out by Xinyan's nickname. He washed his face again to clear his mind. After pondering for a while he said, I know about the Frost River Reality Project. The government, the military, the society, as well as many financial groups and companies are all involved. Chairman Ouyang is also a technical consultant. Our psychic wave network platform actually has a transplant. Of course it's not suitable for you. But if it's somatosensory stimulation, the corresponding danger will be greatly reduced. Frankly speaking, White Salt's plan is a bit radical. But it is very much in line with the style of Dr. Clay's School of Reconstruction. Their school relies on top-notch nerve repair technology. They are very happy to test the limits of the human body in every case. They work on these limits, combining repair and strengthening into one. There is no school that can match up to this advantage. Of course, you need to pay attention to controlling the intensity. Luo Nan roughly understood. Since Octopus said this, there shouldn't be any major problems. He thanked Octopus and hung up. He decided to follow by Xinyan's instructions. If this chapter is not finished, please turn the page. Following that, he followed the instructions on the key email and loaded the electronic key into his social authority system. He obtained temporary authority and connected to the Frozen Star system. Soon the system guidance arrived. Luo Nan followed the instructions and left Area C. He took the special elevator to the third floor of Frost River Reality. The elevator door opened, and two ushers dressed as female starship soldiers said at the same time, "Welcome, sir." The two guides saw Luo Nan, who had the face of a student, standing in the elevator car wearing eye-catching restricted peripherals. The latter half of the guide's speech was a mess. Luo Nan was able to confirm that the two guides were real people and not virtual images. He nodded in response and walked out of the elevator. It was completely different from the bustling scene below. Upon entering the third floor, it was extremely quiet. The gloomy black light and the dense light spots at the top formed a miniature starry sky environment. It was as if even breathing could be heard. Luo Nan could also feel that his arrival seemed to have caused trouble for the two guides, but he couldn't always explain, "I'm just here for a physical examination." He could only feign ignorance and politely ask for relevant information according to the system notification. "I want to go to Frost River number 3. How do I get there?" The two guides, one with long hair and the other with short hair, were both charming and pleasant. The two exchanged a few glances when faced with Luo Nan's question. Only then did the short-haired guide speak. "Sir, Frost River number 3 is an independent area. Can we confirm your corresponding authority?" "Ah, okay." Luo Nan was just about to raise his hand when the long-haired guide made a hand gesture to the side of the scanner to release light. The light swept across Luo Nan's combat suit peripherals and a pale yellow indicator light lit up. Luo Nan immediately received a system notification. "Hello, respected customer. You have accidentally entered an unauthorized area. Please follow the instructions of the nearby guide and leave as soon as possible to avoid causing any accidents." The two guides looked at each other again. When they faced Luo Nan again, they simultaneously revealed professional sweet smiles. "Sir, you have also seen the situation. I hope you can cooperate." "Wait, it's not that." Luo Nan could roughly guess that the authority on his wristband was not connected to the peripherals of Frost River Reality. He was just about to explain when the electricity behind him stopped. "This chapter is not finished. Please turn the page." The ladder door opened again and someone walked out unsteadily. Another drunkard. Was Frost River Reality an amusement center or a hotel or a restaurant? However, the person who came was clearly a regular customer. The two guides saw him and simultaneously bowed in greeting. "Mr. Hu." The drunkard walked over. He looked quite young. He casually placed his arm on the shoulder of the short-haired guide. The latter hurriedly reached out to support him and revealed a sweet smile. "Mr. Hu, what do you have in mind?" Mr. Hu was still clear-headed. "Give me a private room and an environment that can quickly hypnotize me. Let me sleep for a while." "Yes, C7. These people can really drink." "Okay, Mr. Hu." The short-haired guide supported Luonan and walked inside. She indicated to her companion to quickly solve Luonan's problem. Mr. Hu moved 2 steps sideways like a crab. He could not walk properly. He got closer to Luonan and his drunken eyes swept over Luonan's face. At this moment he was stunned. He suddenly reached out to grab the goggles on Luonan's face. Luonan took half a step back and avoided the grab. He frowned. "Mr. Hu, fellow student." The 2 guides spoke almost at the same time, but they did not know what to say. It was clear that they could not handle this chaotic situation. Mr. Hu was about to reach out, but at this moment, there was a knock on the door. The door of a room at the end of the corridor opened and a woman in a dark professional suit walked out. Seeing this person, the 2 guides seemed to have found their backbone. They called out at the same time, "Managerine." The lady also noticed the situation here and walked over. As she got closer, her appearance gradually appeared in the dim light. She looked to be in her 30s. She had a beautiful face and an elegant demeanor. Her exquisite makeup brought out the mature charm of a woman. Her gaze swept across Luonan and Mr. Hu's faces. She immediately smiled at Mr. Hu and said, "Little boss, you got drunk the moment you came here. Do you think I specialize in sobering up soup?" Mr. Hu was inexplicably afraid of her. He straightened his body and waved his hand. "Sister Lu, I didn't mean that." Madame Yin turned her face again. She wanted to say something to Luonan, but she saw this young man staring at her face blankly. He was clearly in a daze. Chapter 172. Kids these days. Madame Yin laughed dumbly. She first asked the 2 guides for the results of the clearance scan. With a glance, she knew what was going on. She walked in front of the drunken Mr. Hu and separated the 2 of them. She said to Luonan, "Student, this is the VIP area of Frost River Reality. Judging from the clearance of your equipment, you shouldn't be here." Wait. On the other side, Mr. Hu had sobered up quite a bit. However, when he spoke hurriedly, his tongue was not as smooth as before. After saying "wait" a few times, he finally managed to squeeze out the rest of the sentence. That brother, you look familiar. Can you take off the mirror and take a look?" Although his words were rough, the meaning behind them was surprisingly polite. Luonan's heart skipped a beat. He carefully looked at Mr. Hu's face and saw that the outline of his face was a bit swollen due to excessive drinking. He actually looked a bit familiar. After thinking for a bit, he took off the goggles. With just this one movement, a piece of information suddenly popped up in the corner of his memory. "Senior Hu." "Aha, Luonan Junior Nan." Mr. Hu shook off the guide's support and came forward to give Luonan a hug. Luonan could not avoid it for fear that he would not be able to hold on and fall to the ground. Yes, Luonan remembered now. This Mr. Hu was the one who had brought the construction society, Yan Yongguo's lawyer, and a bunch of other people to Gear last week. He was the student council cadre who had come to visit. He was Xie Junping's best friend. Xie Junping called him Hu-san. His real name should be Hu Huaying. According to Xie Junping, this person was a bit muddle-headed, but he was a reliable person. However, was his relationship with Hu-san that good? On the other side, although Hu Huaying was 70 to 80% drunk, his heart was still clear. He and Luonan had only met once, but Xie Junping and Luonan were not. Hu Huaying also worked in the club activities department. He had seen everything that Xie Junping had been doing for the past week. Xie Junping had been running back and forth for Luonan to join the order club. Ever since they knew each other, when had he ever seen this young master so worried? Even though he was very clear about Xie Junping's sexual orientation, he couldn't help but think, could it be that this bro turned the Xie family's playboy gay? As Xie Junping's best friend, Hu Huaying was very clear about her attitude. Showing enthusiasm was just the beginning, the key was the next step. "Junior brother, you have to go to class tomorrow, right? If this chapter is not finished, please turn the page. Are you done?" Hu Huaying expressed that she had always been concerned, and took the opportunity to get closer. "You want to experience the VIP area, right? Actually, you could have just told me in advance. I still have some shares here." She lowered her voice and raised her voice. "Of course, there's also Manager Yin Lo. Junping and I call her sister. She's always taken care of us. Sister Lu, this is my junior Luonan. He's very close to Junping. Luonan. Yinlu stared at Luonan. The latter lowered his eyelids, looking a little introverted. He called out softly, Sister Lu? Hu Huaying saw that Luonan was too introverted and was afraid that he would feel awkward. She laughed. I made a mistake today. No matter what, since I'm here, I'll let junior brother stay in the same room as me. I'm just going to sleep anyway. Luonan opened his mouth but didn't say anything. His gaze returned to Yinli's face and he couldn't look away. Yinli smiled faintly. Her gaze swept past Hu Huaying and Luonan. I still have to give face to the little boss. Sister Lu, you're magnanimous. Hu Huaying laughed and pulled Luonan to thank Yinlu. Luonan said, Thank you, Sister Lu. His eyelids lowered again. At this time Yinlu sighed helplessly. Luonan, I'll call you Brother Nan. You should know how the restrictions came about. You can experience it in the VIP room, but you must take care of your body. Oh, your body hasn't recovered yet, right? I understand. Hu Huaying patted her chest and took charge. God knows if the alcohol had passed. Yinlu nodded at them. Little boss and Brother Nan, you guys have fun. There's a problem with the renovation of Sky Capital Water Village. I'll go take a look. Hu Huaying laughed. Once the branch opens, it'll be your territory once you leave the school gate. It's all for you bosses to earn money. Yinlu shook her head and smiled. She bid farewell to the two and walked into the elevator. Before the elevator door closed, Luonan glanced at Yinlu again. However, he was caught by Yinlu. This female manager, who had an extremely outstanding appearance and style, gave Luonan another smile. She gently waved her hand, bidding him farewell. Then the two guides picked the rooms and led Hu Huaying and Luonan to the inner part of the VIP area. According to Hu Huaying's introduction, the overall structure of the VIP area was distributed like a swarm. They were all separated luxurious rooms. Everything in the gaming area below could be found here. This chapter is not finished. Please continue. And it would only be more exquisite. The VIP rooms were like the private rooms below. However, the gaming area was integrated into it. There was also a scanning area in the room. Under the guidance of the two guides, Luonan re-entered this area and started scanning again. This time, all the permissions were unlocked and a new set of peripheral equipment was sent over. The two guides had gone through professional training. They stepped forward and helped Luonan put on the combat suit and take care of the equipment. Ever since Luonan could remember, he had never received the treatment of having someone help him dress. Frankly speaking, there was an indescribable comfort when four delicate hands touched his body, be it physiology or psychology. He was even a bit embarrassed. This time there was no trace of acting involved. Hu Huaying was overjoyed. She kept egging Luonan on, wanting to see the world in chaos. The short-haired guide was very courageous. She saw that Luonan really did not have much experience. He was a standard rookie, so she deliberately reached out to touch his chest and teased him, Your acting is quite good. You even called yourself Frost River No. 3. You scared us. Luonan's heart skipped a beat. He whispered in a hoarse voice, Can you not tell Manager Ian about this? It's embarrassing. We're not that talkative. As she spoke, the short-haired guide seemed to have thought of something. She turned her head and muttered to her companion. The two of them tried hard to hold back their laughter, but they were not very successful. Little did they know that they could not hide anything from Luonan's mental senses. The short-haired guide said, This kid definitely has a maternal complex. When he looked at Manager Ian, his eyes were glued to her. What could Luonan say? He could only pretend that he did not know. It was fine as long as these two people agreed to his request. The problem was that the two guides were not the only ones who thought this way. Hu Huaying was the same. She leaned on Luonan's shoulder with the help of alcohol. Junior Nan, that Sister Lu is beautiful but not easy to mess with. Don't get hot-headed or you'll be embarrassed in the future. What the hell was going on? Luonan was speechless for a moment. The real reason he paid attention to Yinlu was actually very simple. They had met before. However, it was through the Wraith Sign's perspective. At that time, Yinlu appeared at the Blood Flame Order's sacrificial activities as a deputy first ablatum. She was fully deserving of being a high-ranking member of the Order. Frost River Reality was worthy of being a cooperative project between the government, the military, and the society. Now, even the Order wanted to get involved. He just did not know if the major shareholders knew about the identity of a sensitive person like Yinlu. Or was it just a coincidence? Chapter 173. Hu Huaying was still chattering away. Sister Lu is a talent in both technology and management. She was poached by the company at a high price. Apparently she has a very powerful background. It's not like no one has tried to get her before, but they all ended up in disgrace. Luonan could more or less obtain some information about Yin Lu from Hu Huaying's chatter. This was in contrast to what he learned from the Wraith sign. However, Hu Huaying quickly diverted the topic. She was eager to bring Luonan to experience the relatively easy-to-get kind of experience. Luonan's response to this was to wear a special tactical helmet peripheral to block out all of the outside world's messy information. The default option of the tactical helmet was augmented reality. The interior of the VIP arena room was designed to look like a starship. Coupled with a bit of AR technology, it was a pretty good immersive experience. However, Luonan soon lost his cool. The tactical helmet was gradually affecting his 5 senses to help him further enhance the experience. However, it was precisely this influence that stimulated Luonan's mental senses. Under the circumstances where his 5 senses were confused, his all-encompassing senses began to take over everything. Illusory and real scenes intertwined. In the end, the real side still prevailed. Under the clairvoyance of his mental senses, the light and shadow effects were revealed one by one. There was no longer any reality to speak of. Luonan felt a bit helpless. This was an unexpected trouble. If this trend continued, he would probably be cut off from virtual reality in the future. Hu Huaying and the 2 guides were absolutely unable to understand Luonan's feelings. After routinely asking a few questions about his impressions, they quietly retreated to avoid disturbing Luonan's immersion experience. They each did their own thing. Little did they know that Luonan's mental senses gave him a better understanding of their actions. The long-haired guide retreated first. The short-haired guide flirted with Hu Huaying for a while before leaving with a smile on her face. Hu Huaying's anger was ignited. It was not appropriate for her to be presumptuous beside Luonan. She could only laugh and curse as she went to the resting area to find a place to sleep. However, he soon received a call. It was probably one of his friends urging him to hurry up. After refusing twice, he could only helplessly get up and quietly leave the room. Just like that, Luonan was the only one left in the entire VIP room to carry out his boring attempts. After a few tries, he finally lost all his patience. He took off the tactical helmet and walked out of the high-class fully enclosed maglev cabin. He was lost in thought. This situation wasn't right. If it was only for normal people to use, it would be fine, but from Bai Xinyan and Brother Octopus. If this chapter is not finished, please turn the page. It was obvious that the association was involved in this project. There were a lot of mentally enhanced people like him in the association. If they all had this kind of out-of-character experience, then wouldn't the Frost River waterway become a joke? Luonan discovered that he might have taken a wrong path when he thought about this logic. He hurriedly looked down at his wristband and found the details of temporary privileges in the social privileges section. He then waved his hand. As expected, the system guidance with temporary authority had yet to end. It was still reminding him of the relevant location, and the target was still Frost River number 3. He should have realized it a long time ago. The authority Bai Xinyan gave him was clearly not compatible with the local reality system. They might not even be on the same data chain. You should have told me then. But that deputy officiant is at the side. Am I thinking too much? Luonan felt that he had done quite a few unnecessary things just now. When all was said and done, he lacked social experience and his vigilance was too strong. Sometimes he made things complicated. He thought about how he had asked the 2 guides to keep it a secret not too long ago. Now that he had to ask them for help, it was inevitable that he would be embarrassed again. Luonan could not go back to the past. He could only shake his head and walk out with his tactical helmet between his legs. Just as he walked out of the door, he remembered that there was actually a call service in the VIP room. He rolled his eyes at the sky. But at this time, the system guidance on his wristband came. It showed that the Frost River number 3 he had been searching for a long time had entered the signal link range. Do you want to activate it? Luonan was dumbfounded. Then he chose yes. There was a soft sound. The door of a room in front of Luonan opened automatically. It was originally pitch black inside, but then the lights automatically lit up. Luonan walked over. After he entered, the door closed automatically, isolating the inside from the outside. He felt quite emotional for a moment. He had originally come to examine his body openly. How did he end up doing it sneakily in a moment of carelessness? When the door closed, his wristband clearly vibrated, realizing the data link. The system guidance was fully activated. A very classic virtual image of a female. In any case, it was the type that Luonan found familiar. It was projected before his eyes. Hello, Explorer Luonan. Welcome to a brand new adventure. I am your guide Nina. According to the rules of the adventure manual, please enter the scanning area and equip yourself with the appropriate equipment. The scene guidance started just like that? Luonan confirmed that it seemed that this room, or perhaps the permission given to him by Xinyan, directly locked the game project. It did not give him the opportunity to choose. This was similar to his experience in the VIP room. This chapter is not finished. Please continue. It was not quite the same. This was nothing. Luonan followed the guide and entered the scanning area. This was the third time tonight. The scanning this time was more detailed than the previous 2 times. The duration was longer as well. It even required him to do a few sets of movements from time to time against the released demonstration video. There was no doubt that this gave off a more professional feeling. Luonan could feel that the combat suit on his body was undergoing fine adjustments according to his movements, making it more comfortable. Then should he put on the helmet that was placed aside? As he was thinking, the helmet beside him flashed with red light. The virtual guide Nina spoke softly. Explorer Luonan, the system has confirmed that your current tactical helmet does not meet the requirements of the adventure. It needs to be changed. Please follow the guide and perform data binding on the new helmet. At the same time, the automatic mechanical platform turned around and presented a new tactical helmet to Luonan. Luonan took it and scanned it. It seemed to be no different from the previous one just by looking at its appearance. He shook his head and put on the new helmet. But the following interface made him a bit surprised. The interface was pitch black. There was only a silver-white dot of light in front of him. The system guidance asked him to focus his attention on the dot of light. Luonan naturally did as he was told. Next, the dot of light split up. 1 became 2, 2 became 4, and they spread out to the 2 sides. Soon they turned to the limits of the range of his vision. But the system guidance still asked him to lock onto the additional dot of light. If it was a normal person, they would probably be stupefied. But for Luonan, who had grasped all-encompassing mental senses, it could not be any easier. Very naturally, he entered the level of mental senses from the basic visual senses. That's right, this was a special guide for ability users. Luonan suddenly realized. The dot of light split up into 360 dots. They covered the front, back, left, right, up, down, and so on. Luonan locked onto them one by one. Then all the dots of light converged into one. They were located right above the top of his head and pressed into his skull. Luonan's mental senses automatically cut inwards. Suddenly, countless lights and shadows appeared before his eyes. They interweaved with each other. After stabilizing, Luonan discovered that he had already entered the interior of a starship. The door that had just opened was in front of him. A metal-constructed corridor extended forward. Luonan hesitated for a moment before extending his hand to touch the opened alloy door. He saw that he was wearing a glove on his hand. The hard touch of the glove was fed back to him in an incomparably real way. The high wall of illusion and reality shattered with a bang at this moment. Chapter 174. On the east coast of Xia City, there was a dangerous section of the Huanhai Highway. Beyond the guardrail of the highway was a cliff. Under the dark sky, the fine rain was like mist, erasing the boundary between the cliff and the sky. This Huanhai Highway was the first-class highway to be paved with magnetic pavement. In the beginning, it was used as a technical practice. Later, because of its status as a classic, it gradually became the preferred choice for street racers. Although the weather was bad, the thrill-seeking racers did not mind. Sports cars sped along the highway one after another. With the help of the maglev system, they easily reached speeds of over 300 kilometers per hour. The headlights of the car were like a long sword that cut horizontally, cutting the curtain of night and the rain into pieces. They also made the cliff glisten and stand out from the hazy sea and sky. Xinyan stood at the top of the cliff, looking at the staircase road that extended into the distance. The cars racing on the road were like fireflies moving in the opposite direction, gradually becoming indistinguishable in the curtain of rain. Xia City is still the same. There's no difference between it and Luoyang City. Faced with the harsh environment after the war, it was difficult to maintain the cultural characteristics of a large metropolitan area that was built in a hurry. A high degree of homogeneity was inevitable. It was precisely in such a boring jungle of steel that the seemingly turbulent but actually monotonous structure of human nature was created. Because of this, Every gifted type is worthy of special treatment, from the perspective of species diversity. Bai Xinyan had her hands in the pockets of her windbreaker. She faced the sea breeze and took a step forward. The fluttering raindrops condensed into fine ice crystals under her feet, carrying her body. Just like this, it condensed, shattered, and solidified, forming a faintly discernible ice crystal staircase. She crossed over the multi-layered road and arrived at the bottom of the cliff. There was no trace of the void behind her. Right now, Bai Xinyan was standing on a protruding platform about 10 meters above sea level. It was big enough for 2 people to stand on. On the inside of the platform, there was a recess of more than 3 meters deep and nearly 2 meters high. Traces of artificial excavation could be seen. Bai Xinyan didn't go in. She looked around and saw that there was an open waterproof metal box inside. Women's clothes were scattered messily on top of it, already soaked by the drizzle that blew in. How many years has it been since I've changed my casual lifestyle? Bai Xinyan looked away and stood on the platform facing the sea. On one side of the sea, the rain fell like a curtain. It was a hazy scene. This chapter is not finished. Please turn the page. The wind and rain blew against her windbreaker, making it flutter loudly, but it didn't make her feel the slightest bit wet. Below her, among the jagged rocks, the tide was rising. Thick white foam floated on the blurry outline of the tide, swaying back and forth. Bai Xinyan gazed at the surface of the sea. After a moment, the corners of her lips curled up. The rain that fell around her once again turned into fine ice crystals. They fell onto the rocks in the tide with a rustling sound. In the time it took to take 2 or 3 breaths, the constantly swaying white foam of the tide had turned into all sorts of strange ice crystals, and the chill was still seeping into the seawater. Very soon, the reef and the half-frozen tide formed a twisted silhouette that looked like the face of a ferocious ghost. 1, Bai thought. But he counted to 3. Suddenly, amidst the sound of the wind and the waves, there was a clanging sound that spread far and wide. The ghost face on the surface of the sea suddenly tore open. Correspondingly, the reef cracked and the seawater split. A slender figure broke out of the water from the middle of the crack and screamed, "Frozen, frozen to death, frozen to death." Jianghu rushed out of the water. Her tight-fitting diving suit with red and black stripes showed off her good figure, but there was a layer of floating ice on her. Her loose hair was also covered with ice beads, messy and lacking in layers, which made her look a bit awkward. Her bare feet stepped on the slippery rock wall, and with a leap she flew onto the platform. The sharp aura around her body had yet to dissipate, and as she cut through the curtain of rain, there was a hissing sound. On the platform, Bai Xinyan did not dodge. Instead, she smiled and opened her arms wide to embrace the figure that was charging at her. The camel-colored windbreaker was flipped up and covered both of them. Ah, white salt, white salt. Zhang Yingying was so excited that she wanted to roll around in Bai Xinyan's arms and rub off the ice droplets. Bai Xinyan, on the other hand, did not seem to care at all. She hugged the young girl in her arms tightly, and her chin rested on her hair that was covered in ice beads. She did not say anything, but she continued to smile. The excitement of meeting an old friend finally died down a little. Zhang Yingying put some distance between them. When she saw Bai Xinyan's face, she couldn't help but take a few bites. Ah, you haven't changed at all. You've been in the lab all day and you haven't melted. But when she truly came back to her senses, she lowered her head to look at the surface of the sea, where the chill had yet to subside. She swallowed back the words she was about to say. Wow! How did you do it? This sort of freezing air has already far exceeded the scope of normal. You're no longer just an architect. This chapter is not finished. Please turn the page. An extraordinaire? Not yet. It's just a little trick. It's not the same as your white rainbow. But I haven't seen you for 3 years, and you've suddenly become very serious in your training. Zhang Yingying rolled her pretty eyes. Yeah, I'm making a fool of myself. I still want face. Do you? Bai Xinyan used her cheek to lightly rub against the young girl's delicate and slightly cool cheek. Zhang Yingying giggled. Then she asked Bai Xinyan about her plans. This time we're in Xia City. We're going to be at least a month. How are we going to arrange our schedule? How about you live with me? We'll go play to our heart's content every day. I'm going to see the boss tomorrow morning. Then I'll deal with other matters. I also have an appointment tonight, but it's just a formality. Bai Xinyan's wristband vibrated as she spoke. She glanced at it and nodded slightly. The society has dug up quite a few new people in recent years. The scout is pretty good. Scout. All right. That fellow is your patient. Zhang Yingying's eyeballs swiveled. A few thoughts floated to the surface. Bai Xinyan saw this and knew that this scout was already registered with Zhang Yingying. She took the opportunity to understand the situation. The precision of this person's senses is very impressive. It's the precision direction, but it's closer to the microscopic. Why does he have the nickname Scout? This person, he really does have some talent. Zhang Yingying blinked. She was a bit baffled. You guys haven't met yet, right? How can you tell? I rely on my skills. Bai Xinyan shook her wrist, letting the data on her wristband be mapped out. Zhang Yingying could only understand a part of it, but she grasped the key information. Frost River Waterway? That fellow's nerves are damaged and he hasn't even awakened yet. Can he hold on? TSK. Is there a need to torment him like this? Bai Xinyan smiled. When a patient receives treatment, he has to walk with two legs. One is confidence and the other is obedience. Right now, I'm just strengthening the latter element. Zhang Yingying had a baffled expression. That fellow can be a bit jumpy at times, but he hasn't started yet, right? Yeah. He's not being disobedient. I just want to make him more obedient. Oh, pervert. Chapter 175. Luo Nan stood at the entrance of the metal passageway, experiencing the blurry boundary between illusion and reality. Nina's upper body appeared on his retina. Explorer Luo Nan, you need to make a short jump in order to infiltrate the planet's defensive perimeter. Please enter the jump pod. This scenario seemed familiar. The last time he was tricked into coming here by Imohan, it was more or less the same. Luo Nan walked into the open metal passageway. The light gradually dimmed. At the end of the passageway, the operating console flickered with light. He could see the stars in the depths of space through the circular window. Behind the operating console was a classic high-back starship chair. Luo Nan walked over and sat down. Through Nina's guidance, he adjusted the equipment on the operating console one by one and revised the parameters. All of this was done to help the player adapt to the virtual environment, to minimize the influence of reality to the greatest extent. Luo Nan used his picky eyes to inspect the feeling of his fingertips, the changes in lighting and the shifting of angles, but it was hard to find any obvious flaws. This degree of realism had already exceeded the limits of reality for the public. It should be due to the mental guidance that had been carried out before. Everything was ready. The window displayed the meaningless coordinates of the adventure area. Nina's voice rang out once more. Please close your eyes and grasp your balance. Resist the dizziness from the short jump. The adventure begins. Luo Nan's body trembled slightly. A peculiar vortex of light appeared in front of the jump pod. The pod started and accelerated. The force of inertia pushed Luo Nan to the back of the chair, and the world spun and flipped. Luo Nan instinctively closed his eyes. The noise of electromagnetism and machinery, as well as the sound of an alarm in the distance, were exceptionally clear. Another jolt followed right after. The feeling of accelerated rotation suddenly disappeared, and the force of inertia flung him out fiercely. What welcomed him was an ice-cold stream of water. A muffled boom rang out and water splashed in all directions. Just as the pain arrived, an even deeper chill penetrated his bones. This was without a doubt a rough landing. In the Frost River Channel, the moment one fell represented the complete transformation from reality to virtual. The vast majority of the participants' perception was produced by the stimulation of the nervous system by electrical signals. Luo Nan's experience was more realistic than the vast majority of the participants. Compared to the miserable experience from before, this reality was much more realistic. This chapter is not finished. Please continue. Reality was still precious. He opened his eyes and stood up from the water. His surroundings were still pitch black, but there was a faint light flickering at the edge of his vision. The water below was up to his knees. The current wasn't slow and it was bone-chilling cold. There were also broken pieces of ice floating on the surface of the water. When they bumped into him, he felt a slight pain. At this moment, the communication device on his collar vibrated slightly. Nina's slightly urgent voice rang out, mixed with some chaotic background noise, continuing to make the environment more real. Explorer Luo Nan, you've just experienced a failed short-range jump. Your combat uniform is damaged to a certain degree. Please take note of the relevant report. For now, please investigate the surrounding situation and send back the relevant information so that we can guide the next step. Before he could finish his sentence, a rustling noise came from the communicator. A strange voice said, Welcome to the Frost River Bar. Please follow the waterway all the way. We have prepared wine for our guests to warm up. Nina's voice cut in again. It seems that there are other people here. You can go on an unplanned adventure. Please take note. From the information sent back, the water of the waterway has been mixed with a strange substance. The water temperature has already reached below freezing point. Please move your body to avoid freezing. From this moment on, the challenge of the Frost River waterway began. According to the rules of Frost River reality, the winner of the challenge would enter the Frost River Bar, obtain a prize, leave their game ID and enter the global rankings. Luonan just didn't know what the result of this ability user version would be. Luonan followed the route indicated by the tactical helmet. He went against the flow of the water and advanced. The Frost River waterway mission was to test the adaptability of the player's body under the stimulation of a low-temperature environment. Although Luonan had tried it once, he had been defeated early on. He did not truly understand the situation inside. He only knew that the length of the waterway was very vague. Some said it was 1,500 meters, some said it was 3,000 meters. Frost River reality had never released the actual data, but it was clear that the waterway was divided into 3 sections. In other words, there were 3 levels of difficulty. The first phase of entering the waterway was about 500 meters. The test was whether the player could maintain the activity of the body under the stimulation of the cold. The middle phase was 500 to 1,000 meters. It involved techniques such as holding one's breath, diving, underwater recognition, and so on. As for the final phase, the length was not determined. This chapter is not finished. Please turn the page. It involved extremely high-level techniques. It was a test for professional extreme survivalists. Last time, Luonan was only able to persist for 100 meters. He could not endure it and was kicked into protective mode. His result was quite embarrassing. The overall trend of the Frost River waterway was downward. After passing 10 meters, the depth of the icy water began to gradually increase. Soon it reached his waist. The icy water flowed with a gurgling sound. Walking in it was a difficult task, especially with the permeation of the cold. It numbed one's senses, making it very easy for a situation to occur. Luonan took a deep breath. Back when he walked in the Frost River waterway, he lost all feeling in his lower body the instant the icy water reached his waist. This time it seemed to be more or less the same. This had nothing to do with the quality of the body. Instead, it was highly related to the sensitivity of the nervous system. The only difference was that Luonan was a bit muddle-headed last time. He was very sensitive to stimulation, but he did not know where his sensitivity came from. Right now, he could clearly feel that external stimulation acted on the cold receptors of his skin, forming nerve impulses that entered his central nervous system. They were conducted all the way to the temperature regulation center of his hypothalamus. His clairvoyance of the state of his body had already entered a level that ordinary people would find it hard to reach. It was a bit strenuous to cut into the cellular scale of the human body with a sensitivity of close to 1/10 millimeter, but when combined with his personal perception, he was still able to grasp a general outline. But this way, the amount of information that needed to be processed increased substantially. A sense of exhaustion quickly assaulted him, and his rapidly decreasing body temperature increased the rate at which his energy was being consumed. Next, his legs went soft and he fell into the water. He had the helmet to protect him so he did not choke. But the torrent of ice wrapped around his helmet smashed over with tinkling sounds. The icy water overflowed into his damaged combat uniform, and the chill penetrated deep. The excessive stimulation caused his blood to flow back. His body instinctively prioritized protecting his internal organs. His hands and feet quickly became numb, making him lose the ability to move. There was a boom and the sharp, enormous ice smashed against his head. The helmet was damaged and the icy water seeped through. Luonan choked to death and his vision blurred. His consciousness became a bit fuzzy. Nina seemed to say something next to his ear, but he was no longer able to hear it. By the time his consciousness recovered, Luonan had already returned to the high-back starship chair he was in before the jump. As expected, he failed the Frost River Waterway Challenge. Chapter 176. Luonan leaned against the back of the chair. His hands and feet were powerless for a time. His body needed a certain amount of time to adjust to the changes in the external stimuli. Right now, a hologram was erected in front of him. The central region was a playback of the video. It displayed the details of his actions in the Frost River waterway from multiple perspectives. There was no need to elaborate on his sorry state. All sorts of data appeared around the playback. Many of them were specialized terms. Luonan didn't really understand them. Even if he understood, it was hard to understand a project that had been completely digitized. He didn't know what level it represented, whether it was good or bad, due to the lack of comparison. Luckily, he discovered that there was a rather shallow conclusion at the lower center of the hologram. The challenger's body is weak, but he possesses outstanding sensory precision. He is a precision-oriented mentally enhanced. However, he lacks the corresponding information processing skills. He lacks control over his body. He remains in the instinctive stage. Information processing skills? Control? Luonan recalled the experience he had just experienced. He had received a lot of information, but that was all. All of his nerve impulses and related reactions were still carried out according to his body's functions. They were carried out step by step. There really wasn't much control. He was quite convinced by this evaluation. Obtaining information was one thing, but processing and controlling it was another. Luonan knew that the temperature control center of the human body was located in the hypothalamus. He also knew the relationship between the relevant control areas and the type and nature of the neurotransmitters secreted. He also possessed the corresponding soul strength. It was enough to interfere with the material plane and give sufficient stimulation to the corresponding nervous tissues. But he really didn't know what to do if he let Luonan control it. This wasn't something that could be realized with just a thought. If he really did it, what would be the priority? It must be known that the hypothalamus was an important area for regulating the internal organs and endocrine activity. If the stimulation was inappropriate, it wouldn't just be a matter of losing the challenge. He might even play himself to death on the spot. Luonan sighed. He looked at his sorry state a few more times and chose to challenge once more. Bai Xingyan wanted him to try many times before. She gave him 2 hours of time. Only a quarter of the time had passed. He still had to practice. The problem was that nothing much had changed when he entered the Frost River waterway once more. The icy water of the Frost River waterway was fine. Please continue to the next page. What gave Luonan a headache was the rapid flow of water and the enormous chunks of ice that came crashing down from time to time, as well as other debris. Under the influence of the numbness caused by the cold, Luonan simply didn't have the leeway to dodge. He could only fail again and again. Luonan's dispirited thoughts were accumulating. He wasn't afraid of failure, but he was very vexed by the feeling of powerlessness that came from being unable to fix his own problems. He had practiced a few times, but he collapsed in the first 500 meters every time. It was the same problem every time. What was the point of trying again? The accumulated emotions had already caused his soul strength to go a bit out of control. Luonan simply chose to withdraw. The sealed magnetic cabin opened, and the luxurious high-back chair was restored. Luonan sat on the chair and was stunned for a moment. He smashed the armrest heavily and ignored the system notification. He took off his helmet and prepared to take a good breath. But the moment he took off his helmet, all the indicator lights around the high-back chair he was sitting on went off. The guide, Nina, disappeared, but the lights in the room lit up. The atmosphere of business was completely destroyed. His wristband vibrated again and the system prompted, "You have voluntarily exited the system. Temporary authority has been turned off." Luonan was stupefied. He looked at his watch again. Not even half of the 2-hour time limit had passed. He just wanted to take a breather. Who would have thought that the system would turn off so simply? This kind of authority was really too much of a scam. Looking at it from another angle, that Ms. Bai probably didn't plan on giving people the option to rest midway? From the looks of it, that person's temperament wasn't that easy to deal with. Luonan's heart spontaneously gave birth to vigilance. He was like a mischievous student facing a strict teacher. And very unfortunately, he did a terrible job on the first assignment that this teacher assigned. His first impression of her had probably been completely destroyed. Luonan was a bit troubled, but it was too late for regrets now. The temporary authority had failed, and the illuminated lights revealed a sense of alienation. He could only leave. At this time, the automated mechanical platform rotated to his side. This meant that he had to leave the special tactical helmet behind. Luonan was a bit reluctant to part with the helmet when he thought about the difference in experience. This made the regret in his heart grow a step further. Luonan hesitated for a moment. He didn't return it for the time being. Instead, he walked back to the scanning area and picked up the other helmet that was placed there. He grabbed one helmet in each hand. "This chapter isn't finished. Please turn the page." He waved his hands. On the surface there was really no difference between the two. If Luo Nan hadn't gone to Hu Huaying's VIP room first and had an unsuccessful experience, he probably wouldn't have thought that a difference in equipment would cause such a huge difference in experience. But since he had already found the problem, why not continue to put in a bit of effort and thoroughly figure out what the difference was between the two helmets? Luo Nan couldn't restrain his curiosity. He adjusted the precision of his senses, and his soul strength penetrated the interior of the helmet. He knew nothing about the field of precision electronics, but the design and structure of the two helmets were practically the same. This gave him a standard of reference. With this comparison there were some results. Luo Nan followed his mental senses to compare one area after another. Soon he discovered that there was a compartment on the helmet of Frost River No. 3 that was roughly stuck to the top of the helmet. There was a chipset installed there. The helmet brought out from Hu Huaying's VIP room also had a similar compartment, but it didn't have a chipset. Clearly this was where the difference lay. Luo Nan put on the tactical helmet once more and his consciousness cut in. Right now there was no system guidance, but the more it was like this, the more fundamental things could appear. He noticed the energy and information roaming within the chip while it was in a charged state. Looking at the material structure, the scale of the energy and information was several orders of magnitude smaller than the cells of the human body. However, the soul's sensitivity towards energy and information was clearly higher. It didn't need to interfere with the material plane to be able to perceive and read the information with relative clarity. Luo Nan was able to detect that the chipset within the helmet of Frost River No. 3 was processing energy and information. It was a very familiar structure. It was extremely familiar. Luo Nan thought back a bit and determined the source of this familiar feeling. Jack, the dynamo core at the Tower of Babel. Yes, the operating form of energy and information within the chipset was relatively crude and rigid. However, the mode of exchange and transformation of information was undoubtedly the Tower of Babel structure that Jack had displayed that night. A certain segment. Even if it was transplanted into the chip, the operating mode of energy and information was essentially the same. This was really unexpected. You're tuning in to the Sword Dance in the Vast Sky YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.